Good morning, Rob. I'm so fantastic. How are you? Excellent. Very happy to hear that. She looks.
I'm Todd Schrupp, on site at Del Mar, home of the Breeders' Cup World Thoroughbred Championships. 14 championship races Friday and Saturday here at Del Mar, and yesterday they drew post positions for all of them. We'll be talking about the impact of that post position draw. We'll also continue to follow Torpedo Anna, one of the biggest stars of the weekend. The moon has gone down, the sun has come up, and we're trying to determine who will leave with the cup, and that's no piece of cake. The Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup show starts right now.
FanDuel's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Phasic Tipton.
Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
We've got plenty of Breeders' Cup contenders waiting to go on the track.
We're so fortunate to see so many of these horses in the Breeders' Cup.
The 4 to 5 morning line favorite for the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff, Torpedo Anna, out this morning here at Del Mar. If you were with us yesterday on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, you saw her exercise rider arm wrestling Andy Biancone, but most mornings he's got to wrestle with Torpedo Anna because she is full of energy. We'll be talking about her after the post position draw yesterday. As we said, odds on in the morning line. Then there is Straight No Chaser with a young Gallup boy out there. Wait, that's his trainer. How about Dan Blacker getting back up on the horse? And then Emily Upjohn, she has not won a race this year, but if she wins on Saturday, it will all be forgotten. And with trainer John Gosden, that is a likely possibility given his success here at the Breeders' Cup. Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup on our set just off the paddock here. I'm Todd Schrupp. Yesterday afternoon here in the paddock, it was the post position draw. All 14 championship races drawn. They got to the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and there was a lot of tension before each post position draw, and then all of a sudden you heard post position 8 goes to Straight No Chaser, and this woman shrieked loudly in joy, and I looked over and I said, Christina, I think they can hear us. Joining me on the set is Christina Blacker, whose husband trained Straight No Chaser in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, but I thought you were a good example. That relief you let out, you didn't shriek, but that relief you let out is really what happened with a lot of connections yesterday. They got the post they wanted, but there were some who were probably disappointed. Who can let out a sigh of relief from the post position draw yesterday amongst notable horses?
Well, I think horses like Fierceness drew well. He was a horse that we talked about going into the post draw as not wanting to be too far to the inside. Torpedo Anna drew post position 2, no problem for her. Same to be said for City of Troy. But then, Michelle, I thought some of the younger horses had a hard time at the draw. Lake Victoria at the rail in the juvenile fillies turf. East Avenue at the rail. That's a lot to ask. I think the younger horses actually had a tougher time at the draw than the olders.
It's also hard to say, too, because they are the younger horses, so you just automatically say, hey, if they draw the rail, they draw the far outside, that's going to be detrimental, but you just never know. They might overcome that. We just haven't seen so much of them. I also thought the filly in the one turf that came all the way on the outside, I thought, oh, now I don't really like her at all.
Outside post positions can be tricky, especially on the turf here at Del Mar. We discussed that a lot going into the draw yesterday. Anybody to the outside has their work cut out.
Before we get to our team of reporters, I want to say, hey, you did an excellent job, Michelle, you at Santa Anita.
Oh, thanks, Todd.
You also wore down our camera people. They needed a couple of days off. One of our camera guys, Connor, goes, I got Michelle this morning. She likes to get in 10,000 steps on her Apple Watch. We are very happy to have Michelle Yu with us as part of our team coverage. And let's go out into the field right now with Andy Biancone.
Todd, good morning, and thank you so much. Mike Maker knew I was feeling a little bit lost in the mornings without a horse to get on, so he kindly asked me to get on his Breeders' Cup Contender Out on Bail, who we can expect to see run in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. But this son of Tizalaw is super feisty. I've kind of just been giving him eyeball rubs and getting him sleepy, but now that I'm talking, he's kind of perking up. We're going to take him out on the track today at 8:30 for a little jog. Tomorrow we'll have a gallop, and the following day we'll jog and stand in the gate. But he drew post position 1. He's never been off the board in 6 lifetime starts, and I'm starting to go pretty fond of him, Scott and Rishi.
Well, we look forward to seeing that, Andy. And Rishi, great to be here with you at Del Mar as we get set for this week ahead of us. But really looking forward to seeing Aiden and Charlie Appleby's horses come out. 11 horses for Aiden O'Brien scheduled to come out at 8:10 Pacific time. So we're about an hour and 10 minutes away from that.
Yes, it's an exciting time. Obviously, Aiden O'Brien and Charlie Appleby, the traditional powerhouses of European challenges over the last few years. Obviously, Charlie Appleby probably has the edge in the last few years. He's got such a good record. His ratio strike rate is so excellent. But Aiden's got a lot of good horses and the biggest talking horse of them all in City of Troy.
Aside from City of Troy, what's another name that we have to keep an eye on when we watch these horses come out and train at 8:10?
Well, I definitely think when you're looking at the O'Brien team, one of their bankers would be Lake Victoria. She has been fabulous. She's improved with every start. She dropped back in trip from 7 furlongs for the first time to 6 to win the Cheveley Park at Newmarket last time out. She's an outstanding filly. At the start of the year, it looked as if Aiden had a very strong team of 2-year-olds, especially fillies. Royal Ascot, you remember, Fairy Godmother, right. Bedtime Story. They looked like world beaters. Now they've been surpassed by Lake Victoria. It was going to take something special to do it. She's done it.
Well, we look forward to seeing the 11 of Aiden O'Brien's come out at 8:10, and then right after that at 8:15, Charlie Appleby with 4 more. So we've got it on lockdown here at the Quarantine Barn as we await these horses to come in and out as we send you back to the set over near the paddock. Todd?
And it seems with each passing year, this becomes more and more of an international event, a record number of entries from outside of the United States this year.
Absolutely, and that a cornerstone and a pillar of the Breeders' Cup since its inception, and it feels like, and it is reflected in the numbers, the international participation continues to grow. Horses running from South Africa for the first time this year. That was a long time in the making, and a record number of those entered.
And Michelle, I know you like to see those horses come from overseas because we're all fans. We watch their races, and now we get to see them up close. Let's turn our attention then to the mile here and taking a look at 10 Happy Rose.
And 10 Happy Rose came on the track just a few minutes ago and could not have been more well-behaved the entire time that we've been watching here. Just as out for a nice little stroll, but that's kind of what we see from the Japanese horses as well, right? They come out and they take their time. We've talked to several of the connections, and that's what they do when they're training centers. They are out for hours and, you know, walking around and going up and down hills. So love to see 10 Happy Rose here, really perky. You can see she's got a little bit of damage. Maybe she ran into the side of the trailer or something.
Looks like, yeah, a little bit of a rub there on her hip, as you can see. And she is kind of taking it in. This is actually the first time we've had the opportunity to see her. We've seen a lot of the Japanese runners, but this is our first look at her, and she is still, again, kind of looking around at these new surroundings. Every day in the lead up to the Breeders' Cup, as the crew here continues to make their preparations, there's more that is built. There's more that's added out on the racetrack in terms of the decorations, the grandstand, the temporary seating that goes up. So there's sort of something new for these horses to see every single day. Her biggest race was the victory in the Victoria Mile. That was 2 starts back in May. I like the fact that she has had a recent race. A lot of the Japanese runners, because they take the summer off with the warm temperatures, are coming in very fresh or off a long layoff, which is demanding when you're competing at this level of competition.
Don't you
she
also
may not
feel
have
like,
won last out, but she has the race.
I feel like that was a prep, right? They
Yes.
ran her shorter than her preferred trip. I mean, she's always pretty much gone 7 or a mile, and they cut her back to that 6. I don't think that they were expecting her to win. I think they just wanted a real stiffener in her.
Bred by the legendary Shaddai Farm, a daughter of Epiphania out of the Tonino Gimlet mare, Fatal Rose, Japanese bred and Japanese Hope, 10 Happy Rose for the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile presented by PDJF. Let's turn our attention to Future Stars Friday and a horse out on the track today for the FanDuel Juvenile.
Yeah, this is going to be Shin Believe that we'll take a look at here as he's out on course. Nice little gallop from him. Just see if they go ahead and let him open up his stride a little bit or not. He has one of the more unique pedigrees in that you're reflecting the world in this pedigree. He's a son of Constitution, so he has the American sire on the top. But then he's out of an Argentinian mare by the name of San Pus. She is a daughter of Footsteps in the Sand from Europe. We're going all over the world with the pedigree for this guy. He's only run one time so far. He did win that race, and it's a lot to ask at 1 1/8 first time out.
Not only that, look at his purchase price, Christina. I mean, it was an $800,000 OBS purchase, right? So he had to work good, he had to physically pass, and we see a lot of like Baffert horses coming out of the OBS sale that are very, very quick. If the Japanese are going to step in and start taking these really great OBS horses, this is what you're going to see from them, right? A horse that has this really great pedigree that is quick enough to compete over here, and it's not just stamina based. They're going to influence some speed here as well. This horse coming down the lane for his work, I feel like very typical of a lot of the Japanese horses, the way they kind of work down here with the riders is keeping after him just a little bit. This horse, I don't want to say green, but he's certainly looking around. You see those ears up, and he's not wanting to go forward. It's not because he doesn't have a lot of energy. It's because he's looking at, like you mentioned, the tent and everything else. Switched his lead there at the end, it looked like.
Andy?
Todd, thank you so much. Kenny McPeak joins us. The Grizzly Bear, Torpedo Anna, hit the track for the first time today. What were your thoughts, Kenny?
Well, we had a light day with her. We just jogged her twice, and then we schooled her through the paddock this morning. She on the truck, she got a little nick on her hip somehow, some way. She on the flight over, just something minor that we're just having to doctor up a little bit. It's never easy, right? It's always something. But anyway, she's full of energy. She's drilling the feed tub. But we jogged her twice today, and tomorrow we'll get a full gallop in her and let her do her thing around there. We're expecting Danny to kind of be bent over because her energy level's massive right now.
Absolutely. So having that little nick on her hip, that's what prompted the decision to jog too today.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. I mean, I don't know. At some point in time, she must have scratched it up against a wall or, hard to say. It was a long day for her because she traveled so far. But, this is something that we're working through, and, it's far from her heart. She actually had a little nick in her hind leg when we took her to Philadelphia last month. So it's always something. A lot of horsemen deal with these little details. I tend to talk about them. It's no big deal, when we get it out there, but we've got it under control, and tomorrow's going to be a good day and just a few days to get her there.
We so love and appreciate your transparency with the public through everything, but in terms of tomorrow, she'll probably jog one, gallop one?
No, we'll probably full gallop her tomorrow. She really wanted to do something today. And like I said, I just wanted to be a little conservative with what I did with her this morning to make sure that whatever we're dealing with there didn't become something more than it is. And she was fine. She jogged off great. And it's just one step. And like I said, today was a light day. Tomorrow we'll get into a nice routine galloping.
Every trainer's galloping program kind of looks a little bit different. What does your full gallop look like?
Well, we typically back her, like in Saratoga in the summer, she goes on the half-mile gap at Oklahoma, and then she backs all the way up to the Whitney stand, which is past the 8th pole. And she spent pretty much every day training on the Oklahoma track in Saratoga. And here's not a whole lot different. Today we went on the chute gap, and tomorrow we'll probably walk her a little bit further down and then jog her backwards towards the grandstand and let her kind of eyeball everything. Like this morning after she jogged, she was walking through the paddock. She got to see a lot of the scenes because she's very inquisitive. She wants to see everything. What's that? What's this? What's that? And this is a good week to be able to do that.
No doubt she's ultra intelligent, always taking in her surroundings. So tomorrow, would you say she'd gallop about 1.5 miles?
Yeah, that'd be good. We'll probably back her to the 8th pole, jog her straight off, and then go from there.
Beautiful, Kenny. Thank you so much. And I'm going to be sending spirit fingers to Danny.
All right. Danny says you can come get on her anytime.
It'll be like 6 laps. We'll be taking bets how many laps she'd do with me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Back to you guys.
Love it. The remarkable Danny Ramsey and spotting Andy Biancone 50 years. What did you make of Torpedo Anna staying up at Saratoga? Because obviously Ken McPeak based in Kentucky. What about her basically completing some of her major training in Saratoga before coming here?
I like it. I think that track can be a little deeper. I think you get a horse very fit. Not that she needed to be that much more fit off her race campaign, but I like the fact that it's quiet up there as well. He talks a lot about her energy levels and how she wants to take things in. That surrounding, especially this time of year, it's nice and cool, and it's just very peaceful for a horse.
Not only that, but there's a lot less horses up there, right? You go to somewhere like Churchill or whatnot, and there's going to be so many horses prepping up there. It's kind of like a private training center at this time of year, so it's really great mentally for her.
Lots of activity out on the track here at Del Mar in the middle of it all. Rishi Prasad.
Yes, alongside me is Hugo Palmer, who's got 2 runners in the juvenile turf on Friday, the Waco Kid and Seagulls 11. Hugo, would it be fair to say they're very different types of horses? The Waco Kid seems a little bit more handy, a little speedy, whereas Seagulls 11 looks big, strong, and potentially more of a horse for the future.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. They're and sort of slightly different profiles as well. Seagulls 11 always showed us a little bit more at home, and so he was a bit more highly tried, but he's actually only the winner of a maiden race, despite being 3rd in the national and 2nd in the superlative. So whereas the Waco Kid just sort of kept his light under a bushel a little bit and just improved all season. Just every run's got better, which has been exciting.
The last run at Newmarket, I think I spoke to you after he won there, and he won impressively. It looked a really good performance, and you were sort of musing what you could do for the rest of the season. So what was the thinking behind coming here?
Well, I mean, there were 2 Group 1s left in Europe and no Group 2s, and if you add the value of the 2 Group 1s together and double it, you don't get to the Breeders' Cup. So it was a relatively easy persuasion to say to the owners, let's go to Del Mar.
And for Seagulls 11, why here? I mean, looking at him physically, be a question mark about how he'll handle the track.
I think just after the National, he showed such incredible gate speed that day. He's definitely better on faster ground. He just got bogged down in the Dewhurst on the soft ground and possibly on the unfavourable bit of the track. And just after, it's funny enough, it was just after Oisin had ridden the day before, had won the Summer Stakes on New Century, and Oisin rode, he flew over that night and rode Seagulls 11 at the Curragh. And I said, look, what about the Breeders' Cup? And Oisin said 100%. He said, I hate to say it because I can't ride him and you'll make my job harder. But he says, for me, he's got all the attributes that he needs. He's a powerful, strong horse, great gate speed. And both of the horses we've brought out here, I feel, are just crying out for the mile.
And when you think about the jockeys, because I'm thinking off the top of my head, you've got Tom on Waco Kid and Louis Saez, is that right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
How important is it to have that person on a horse like him?
Well, I mean, I just got on the way back from the Curragh, shared a car with a load of American friends who've been over there for racing, and I was like, well, if we go to the Breeders' Cup, who should ride him? And everyone was unanimous. If you can get Louis Saez, get Louis Saez. I'm told Ryan Moore says he's if not one of the riders he respects most in North America. So that's pretty wholehearted recommendation. And I think he's also, for a horse who shows good gate speed and likes to race on the speed, I'm told, I'm far from an expert on American racing, but I'm told that Louis has a great record of that. So
both interesting ownership groups as well. I remember chatting to Andrew Black, who's part of the Waco Kids group, and they're talking about all the Gene Wilder films, all the horses named after characters, and of course the Brighton connection with Seagulls 11. Are they all coming over?
A lot of the Gene Genies are coming. Unfortunately, all the footballers are playing football. So they're not able to come, but they've sent some representation. A couple of former footballers are coming to represent them.
I think we should also say it's soccer.
Yeah, soccer. Yeah.
Hugo, thank you very much. Best of luck with both runners. I'm looking forward to seeing how they can do.
Thanks, Rishi.
Back to you guys.
Oh, so much from that interview, and that's why, Rishi Prasad, one of the best anywhere in the world, but he gleaned so much out of it. The most fascinating thing to me, the respect from Ryan Moore to Louis Saez.
Yes, absolutely. And look, we have the opportunity to watch Saez be so successful and apply his trade every single day. And we've seen him at Churchill. We've seen him at Keeneland. And that point about him being aggressive away from the gate and really putting your horse into the race, I think is the most salient one with his chances here for Seagulls 11.
Well, I think that what you do is you see these European trainers coming over and they're starting to realize we run races different here. And now I'm not only going to sit back and just run my race, I am going to try to give my horse the best advantage by making sure they're doing what we do, especially in California with how fast we are.
We got a big advantage with Joaquin Jaime joining our coverage here this morning. Hey, Joaquin.
Hey, Todd, good morning. So it is Tuesday at Breeders' Cup week, but the preparations are not done yet for some horses, including Team Japan. I counted 10 different Japanese horses that are going to have some sort of breeze today between now and about 8:20 this morning, and that does include Breeders' Cup Classic contender Forever Young. He's actually supposed to have a breeze in company today at 7:45. I also spoke to the connections of Sullivan Angel for trainer Safi Joseph. She won the Princess Rooney at Gulfstream Park in her most recent start. She's going to be running in the Breeders' Cup Fielding Mayor Sprint on Saturday. She's scheduled to have a quarter-mile blowout today as well after the renovation break, Todd. So for some of these connections preparing for the Breeders' Cup, the preparations aren't done quite just yet.
Well, and you were talking about this, Michelle. We were talking about some of the horses from overseas, just the atmospherics here. When they come out early before the sun has risen, the lights from the grandstand are kind of in their face. It's very unusual for them.
Yeah, it's not just the lights here. There's wind, and the wind is shaking all of those purple tarps, right? Just moving a tiny bit, which is more scary to a horse than if you jumped up and did something, right? It's those little tiny things that they're like, oh, what is that? I mean, we have these big white tents that look like scary horse-eating tents, I'm sure. I mean, the amount of things we're asking these horses, especially some of these juveniles that have only had 1 or 2 starts and been at one track their whole life, we're like, get on a plane, come over here, get around this track with all of these banners, all these people, the photographers, everything. It is so mind-boggling to me how much poise the majority of these horses show. You could not pay me to be the one getting on Andy getting on a horse right now? No, thank you. No, thank you.
It's also important to note that the way they train overseas in Europe, they don't often train in both directions on the racetrack at the same time. So this is busy. There are horses jogging going the wrong way, and then horses galloping and breezing going the right way. So especially for some of those young horses, they're not used to other oncoming traffic coming at them in the mornings.
Let's turn our attention to some older horses and at Shahryar and the Longines Breeders' Cup Turf. This is Shahryar currently out, coming towards the track here at Del Mar.
So he was back here in the paddock behind us for, 20 minutes before we went on air, and he has been acting like this the entire way. So right now where he is, he's on the crossover, like back in the chute, so he's kind of leaving where the front barns are and going like back towards the backside. That's a long way. I mean, we're probably half a mile, a little bit more down the road from where he was right here, and he's been doing this the whole time. That rider cannot wait to get off and have some ibuprofen.
I would not forget about this horse at all in the form. I know his last race wasn't the best in the Sapporo Kinen, but again, maybe that was a bit of a prep. He was second, only beaten 2 lengths to Rebels Romance in the Dubai Shima Classic, 2 races back.
He's got a total shot.
Let's stay with Team Japan, but this time in the sprint. Remake, who last raced in Korea and prior to that was in the Dubai Golden Shaheen, was 4th in there. In fact, a lot of horses out of the Dubai Golden Shaheen will end up in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, but under the cover of darkness, this was Remake earlier today at Del Mar.
Yeah, we'll see if we get a clear view of him at some stage here as he comes into the stretch. There we go. Son of Lonnie. Remember Lonnie, famous for his antics, not always focused on the work at hand. This particular horse, in addition to that effort in Dubai, he then went to Korea for the Korea Sprint. He was the winner that day, and he beat 14 others for that victory. He was a heavy favorite. He was 20 cents on the dollar. Lightly raced this year, but he's 2 for 3 and comes in to the race this year in some pretty good form.
I think he looks fantastic. He looked so good when we were over in Saudi when he ran the Riyadh Dirt Sprint. Look at him here. He's just an absolute machine. He's going through his motions. He looks super interested. He's grabbing the bit. You can see it looks like they have like a kind of straight tie down on him instead of the normal martingale like we see. So this horse must be a big, want to go kind of guy.
Derma Sotogake, a horse that we have seen many times before. He has had a career which brought him to the Kentucky Derby the year that Mage won last year, and as a 4-year-old has yet to win a race. Is there a breakthrough moment that could happen in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile for Derma Sotogake?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, this year his form does leave a little bit to be desired. He was 5th across the wire in the Saudi Cup. He went to Dubai. He was 6th. He was 5th in his prep race in Japan coming into this effort. But he was 2nd in the Classic last year at Santa Anita. He has taken well to American racing in the past, but all that said, he seemingly came into last year's Classic in better form than what we're seeing this year.
It could also be, though, that he was facing 3-year-olds, and a lot of that form was, against these 2 big races, right, that were just restricted to 3-year-olds. And this year he's been facing, obviously, older, this big open company, right? 2 of his 3 races this year were Grade 1 or international affairs. So I think that just the company he's facing, from the Derby races on those cards to the big nights on those cards, you're talking about a lot different competition. So it might be like, it looks like his form was better, but it also could just be the competition is tougher now. Great energy for him on this gallop. I've never actually been a Derma Sotogake fan. I've always been Ushba or over Derma, but fantastic gallop he's got right here.
Son of Mind Your Biscuits, Derma Sotogake back in America looking for the biggest prize in the $7 million Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Friday is Future Stars Friday, so it's all about the 2-year-old races, and we turn our attention back to Future Stars Friday, and here is a contender for Japan in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
She's a daughter of Speightstown out of a Curlin mare. You're getting an all-American pedigree with this filly. She was picked up Keeneland September of 2023 for $200,000, and she's really raced her way into shape. Exits a victory by 5 lengths, last out over a muddy surface into the race.
It'd be first time for her going a route of ground. I'm not entirely convinced that's exactly what she wants to do, although she is a really big filly from what it looks like here. Obviously, we're very far away looking at them on TV, but she doesn't look like she's teeny tiny based on the size of the rider. If you like American Bikini and you think that juveniles can change a lot, then maybe you give her a second or a third glance.
Yeah, she was second, beaten 7 lengths to American Bikini and a maiden 2 starts back. That was in July. She's taken a good hold in this gallop. She looks well, on the bridle, ears up, focused, looking around at her surroundings, but not trying to act up, and the rider seems pretty comfortable. Let's see if he opens up her stride a little bit down the length of the stretch here, because that's what we saw from Dermaso Tagake, a little bit of a gallop into the turn and then just leaning down, releasing a bit of that hold, kind of dropping your weight a touch to signal that she can do more, and he does. He allows her to open up her stride a little bit. Still very much in control and a nice kind of even tempo, but nice to see her lengthen out a little bit.
It was pretty
there.
quick too. He moved his hands down, you can see very visibly, and he let her go, and she extended her stride. Like it was almost the minute they hit the wire, he kind of pulled them back, and she was very kind to take that rate, no problem. Nice big gallop out from her still.
Daughter of Speightstown, Odamena Shacho, preparing for the NetJets Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. We had a chance to see her earlier, and now we get to see the official work. This is 10 Happy Rose getting ready for the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile.
I thought this work was really nice. I was able to kind of sneak peek it right before we were putting it on air, and she just looked so happy and interested throughout. When she comes down the lane, you can see she's really moving with really nice energy. And a lot of times, these turf horses working on the main track, so some of them are going to struggle, some of them are not going to be as keen to be going around. And look at her, she's flicking her ears back, listening to her rider, but she's got him going forward because she's so happy. Here comes around on her proper lead. Let's see if she gets us a swap. Ooh, not yet.
Well, he's asking her for it a little bit. You can see when she kind of turns her head sideways, but he's going to go ahead and just let her move on with it as far as the speed goes. Again, lengthening her stride, releasing a little bit of that contact with her mouth. I don't think we ever got the lead change from her, but we did see. Oh,
there it goes.
And now
just
we're
in time to turn back.
Now you switch back to the left lead, hopefully. There's nothing that feels more awkward than turning left as a horse is leading right. It's counterintuitive to the motion of what you're doing, whether you're on a racehorse or a show pony out there. It's something that you do want to help them balance their leads depending on the direction you're going.
We have to keep in mind, too, that when she's on the wrong lead, it could not look as smooth as it did, right? She still looked pretty smooth for coming down the lane on a wrong lead.
Are there any other horses aside from Team Japan this morning? That is an impressive array that they have brought over. When we come back, we are going to return to Future Stars Friday and talk about Ferocious in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. That's ahead when Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup returns right after this.
Connect, a Grade 1 winning millionaire, making his mark as a sire. With Rattle and Roll, a Grade 1 winning 2-year-old. Graded stakes winners, Whitwater's Rand. Implicated. And Apple Picker. Connect, a proven sire in the making, standing at Lane's End Farm.
Any NBA play can inspire your next hunch. And with 3 months of NBA League Pass from FanDuel, you're about to get a whole lot more inspiration. So if you think they're going to rock the rim right out of the gates, hello, or you want to RSVP to the block party,
there he is. Yes, sir.
Or you think it's going to start raining threes,
let's go!
FanDuel has more ways to bet on players so you can make your hunches happen. Right now, new customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Plus, all customers get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Hey, so I found a betting system that's really working great for me.
So did I. What's yours?
I set up an hour-a-week time limit on FanDuel. I can also set up wager limits, so I only bet what I can afford, and betting stays fun.
Right.
So what's your system?
What's that?
Your system. What's your system? What is that?
Every bettor has a system. Make FanDuel's responsible gaming tools a key part of yours.
This is a cowboy. Recognized around the world as a romantic symbol of the American West. But in Texas, this is a cowboy.
Welcome back to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. A renovation break for training hours this morning, but what a gorgeous look at the sun breaking through the clouds down here at Del Mar this Friday and Saturday, the Breeders' Cup World Thoroughbred Championships. I'm Todd Trupp alongside Christina Blacker and Michelle Yu on our set just off the paddock here. East Avenue is one of the expected favorites over the 2 championship days of racing, and he's in one of the marquee events, the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But you might forget, before he won the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity, he was not favored in that race. That was Ferocious. For more on Ferocious, Joaquin Jaime.
Yeah, Todd, thank you very much. I'm here with Gustavo Delgado Jr. and the Delgado family is represented with Ferocious in the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And you can see him right behind me. He's actually walking right behind us right here. Gustavo, when did you guys get in?
Last night. Yeah.
Travel, it goes smooth and everything?
So far, so good, brother.
All right, so
how's everything going so far?
Everything's going good so far. It actually feels like Breeders' Cup. All the out-of-town horses are coming in, like you guys yourself. Okay, so this horse, by Flatter, he has 3 lifetime starts. Let's go start by start. He missed the break a little bit in his career debut at Saratoga. How much did he surprise you with that performance?
Well, he shocked everybody with that performance, to be honest. The field that he faced that day, everybody was high on the horses. Mm-hmm. So we had a nice feeling when he won the way he did it. So we created that hype for the second start, the hopeful. And unfortunately, Javier couldn't ride him that day. Ira was getting on him first time. So we think that after his first race, the next 2 races, it's always been something going on. You know, we don't like excuses. No, but I mean, we hate excuses.
But what are those things going on?
Well, he lost a shoe in the second race. When he came back, we were like, well, he wasn't finding like the same stride that he showed in the first race. Mm-hmm. For the last race, the Futurity at Keenan, he acted a little bit at the gate. Never did that before. He hit himself at the gate as well. So a couple of things, but you know, he's still performing, still run second. Mm-hmm. Good effort in both races. So hopefully this time, you know, the stars align in our favor, and that's what we're hoping on. You know, a clean trip, and we have a nice horse, so we're pretty content with everything that's so far has gone with him.
All right, Gustavo, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us, and good luck going into the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Juvenile this year, and we hope you some much better luck.
Thank you. Appreciate that, brother.
All right, Todd, some good insight there. 2 excuses, according to the Delgado team. He lost a shoe 2 starts back and didn't have the cleanest of breaks and some trouble before that Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland on October 5th.
Okay, so I'll buy the idea that without losing the shoe, maybe he beats Chancer McPatrick in the hopeful. They're only separated by half length. But East Avenue won with dominating ease last time. Do you believe Ferocious can turn it around on East Avenue?
Well, if East Avenue continues on the trajectory that he is, no, I don't. Because even if Ferocious improves, I mean, East Avenue is already 5-6 lengths ahead of him off that last race. It would take a dramatic jump up, but you can see that type of, you know, dramatic moves from a 2-year-old.
Yeah, you certainly can. I mean, the one thing that might click today, and they might love the track, they might get the best trip. I mean, with juveniles, sometimes it's not always the best horse. It's who gets the best trip, especially when we're asking them to do something. And, you know, that was his first time going a round of ground. Now he's got that start under his belt. Not every horse in this field has the 1/16 out, so that could move him forward as well. And you have to say one thing about him. He's been a model of consistency. Even though it's been second best in a couple of those outings, he has been right there and doing, you know, a really good job of getting getting himself involved and into the thick of the talk. You know, it's not like he had one dud and one good race, and what do we do with him now?
Look at fierceness last year. I mean, he
Right,
was the
true.
biggest price over the 2 days of championship racing because of a poor race leading into the Breeders' Cup.
Model of consistency. We often say that about Rishi Prasad.
Wow, how kind, Todd. That is very kind. A trainer who's also a model of consistency is the man next to me, William Knight. He's having his first ever Breeders' Cup runner, though. He's a trainer who's got better and better over the years back home in Britain. But you've got a filly, Frosted Dawn, who on the face of it looks to face a very stiff task. She's running on the dirt against the fastest fillies and mares in America. That's the plan, unless, of course, horses come out of the turf sprint. Is that right?
Yeah, but I think that's highly unlikely. So, you know, we're going to concentrate that we're going to be running on the dirt. And yeah, look, it is. It's I'm not so worried about the surface. It's just the distance. This is 7 furlongs. Yeah. You know, if it was 6, that would probably suit us better. But, you know, she ran very well in Dubai over 7 on the dirt, and she won as a 2-year-old over 7. So we got a nice drawn one, so that should help us as well.
I remember in Dubai when she dropped back in trip, I thought, no, she's not quick enough to go back to 5.5, 6 furlongs, and she actually looked as if she improved for it. So would it be fair to say she is better over shorter than over the 7?
Yeah, as I say, I think 6 is probably her ideal trip, but, you know, 7 on a bend, it will give her a chance of getting it. You know, if you look at her pedigree, she's by Frosted, who was a very good miler on the dirt, and then the dam side is very much mile and a quarter. So that's why when we originally went out to Dubai, our plan was to run the UAE Guineas, thinking that was going to be her distance. But look, she's by a dirt stallion, so as I said, surface doesn't really bother me. It's just the distance.
We often talk about horses making it to America to race on the dirt from a European perspective and talk about the challenges. And obviously that's a big talking point with City of Troy in the Classic. As a trainer, how do you prepare your horse for a battle that it would never have ever encountered before?
Well, she has, because she's running Maidan on it. So she's
against the Americans in their backyard.
Yeah, true. There'd be a very different pace of race. You know, 10-runner field. But look, she's got quite good gate speed, although she didn't necessarily show it over 5 furlongs at Keeneland the other day. But she's generally quite quick out. You know, the 7 furlong shoot here, it's a nice, you're not straight into a bend. So, you know, if she's got to sit one back, I don't think she'll mind the kickback so much. So, look, I'm relatively confident that the pace of the race and the surface will cope with.
The other thing you've got up your sleeve that some people may or may not know about is the fact that you were involved with one of the best horses around travelling the world with Ouija board back in the day, a former Breeders' Cup winner. Yeah,
exactly. She was a fantastic race mare. And when I was an assistant to Ed's, unfortunately Ed never let me loose in the Breeders' Cup. He always went and I stayed at home. But yeah, she was fantastic, and you know, Ed and the team, they had amazing days with her and Leilani before that. So yeah, so sort of well used to it's well used to sort of the procedure of getting horses out here, but to have a horse running in my name out here, you know, I've been training a while now, and you know, we've been to quite a lot of other racing jurisdictions, but to be out here, it's fantastic, and you know, going to make the most of it.
Well, enjoy every minute of it. Good luck with Frosted Dawn.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, Richie.
Thank you.
Well, I'm definitely taking a second look there at the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Some confident words there from William Knight. Next is Andy Biancone.
I am fangirling so hard right now, guys. It's not every day you get to stand next to a champion horse like Next. Obviously, this horse has been incredible since he stretched out in distance. Claimed for $50,000 a little while back by the Bill Cowan's team, but he's won his last 7 stakes in a row by a combined margin of over 90 lengths. And granted, it's been at marathon distances, so over about 1.5 miles he's been running. But Next has been taking up all the scenes of Del Mar. Justin Atkins, assistant trainer, has been getting him prepared to go to the track today. He's going to have a little jog, but this horse is going to try his luck in the Breeders' Cup Classic because he's just been doing that well.
Okay, a number of things here. The outside draw for Next, that was a big thing. Good for him, bad for him?
I mean, we've talked about how it's such a long run into the first turn. I do think he's a horse that wants to be pretty close to the pace, if not on the lead. I think he gets very brave in that scenario. So you are going to have to use him a little bit more from there. But perhaps that early move really dictates the results of his race in general. If he doesn't make that early position, I don't know that he has much of a chance in against this group, as much as his speed figures are very impressive.
You know, the thing is, he's going to have to be faster, right? Like, I mean, he does go to the lead, but he goes to the lead going 1.5 miles in 49. That's not going to cut it in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So they either have to be resigned to kind of getting a good position, or they're going to have to go faster.
What about the thing you can't measure by a number that we talk about in other sports, and that is confidence, momentum? Does it count in thoroughbred racing? Nobody has better momentum than him coming in, but not tested at the class level. Does that count for something?
I think the momentum absolutely counts for something. The confidence absolutely does as well. I think what's more of a concern is the fact that he wants that trip, Fierceness wants that trip, City of Troy wants that trip. The pace in this Classic could be very fast this year.
Well, we kind of like that, though, right? I feel like when there's a fast pace in the Classic, we're going to get a really realistic result. If there was no speed in here, we'd be complaining because it's like, who's going to go? Someone walked the dog. The closers didn't have a fair advantage. So, I mean, I think having an honest pace with legitimate horses that can stay the distance up front really makes a difference as far as just how the race is run.
One other quick comment, because we were talking about the post position for next on the far outside. Then there was Forever Young, who drew inside. That a bad spot for Forever Young?
He drops back anyways. I mean, he's one of those horses that wants to rally from off the pace. You do have some concern about him getting shuffled too far back, but you're not worried about the kickback. You're not worried about the distance. So there are other horses that it would have been more of a concern for me than him.
Here's one thing about him, right? We've seen him time and time again kind of get out a little bit. Being down on the rail, it could either help him because he'll have a wall of horses he can't get out, and so maybe it'll just help him cut some corners better. On the flip side, if he likes to kind of spread himself out and he can't have that, it really might put him in an almost claustrophobic situation where he just kind of backs out because he doesn't like it.
It is a remarkable renewal of the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. The biggest prize over the 2 days, $7 million offered there. We'll be back with more Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup live from Del Mar in just a moment.
An attitude.
DeMarchelier offers breeders a rare opportunity as the only son of Dubawi standing in Kentucky. Dubawi, one of the world's most celebrated stallions, is now a sire of sires. This son of Dubawi brings one of the world's most potent bloodlines to America. On the track, his recent top runners include these star performers. DeMarchelier, standing at Claiborne Farm.
If only every adventure began with your makers of wishes come true. If only they anticipated every aspect of your imagination. They would remind you that surprises are for the child in all of us. Help you celebrate successes and ensure all your milestones are absolutely unforgettable. What if only was possible? It is with only NetJets.
This is a cowboy. Recognized around the world as a romantic symbol of the American West. But in Texas, this is a cowboy.
For centuries, the bond between horse and human has been forged in trust and hands-on care. Thoroughbred racing is combining that tradition with cutting-edge technology to raise our standards even higher. New investments in wearable biometrics, advanced imaging, and AI help optimize our safety programs.
That opening quarter mile was a quick one.
Every day, a commitment to improving their care. So win or lose, it's safety that runs first. To learn more, visit safetyrunsfirst.com.
The highest honor in any sport is to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Those who enter these hallowed halls bear witness to greatness, as the horses enshrined within are known as the Great Ones, the Immortals. With just 4 crops to race, Horse of the Year Gunrunner has sired 10 Grade 1 winners and 13 millionaires, which has him poised to etch his name alongside the greatest stallions of the modern era. Gunrunner.
So many championship dreams still alive as we approach 2 days of championship racing. The Breeders' Cup World Thoroughbred Championships back at Del Mar for a 3rd time this Friday and Saturday. Some horses start out the year not even thinking about the Breeders' Cup. You could say Farbridge was one of those horses. The first start of the year was an optional claimer at Gulfstream Park. He came through as a winner, but then the next 3 races in Graded Stakes Company, he didn't look like he could win a Grade 3 race. And then back-to-back Grade 1 wins, and now his Breeders' Cup dream is alive in the Longines Breeders' Cup turf. But there are 2 key members to his team who have made this day possible. Here's more on Farbridge.
I'm from England, you can tell by the accent, and I'm a 3rd-generation jockey. My grandfather was a jockey, my dad was a jockey, so obviously got involved with horse race from a very young age. I was probably riding race horses when I was about 12 or 13. I was very lucky to be involved with some nice horses and jump racing in England, the Cheltenham Festival. I rode Ascot, I rode some really big tracks, and I rode a couple of winners at Epsom, where the Epsom Derby is, and decided I want to hone my skills in America. So I was lucky enough to be introduced to the Clermonts, and they helped me with my breezing, get some times together, and I fell in love with the place in America. Started as a breeze riding exercise rider for Mr. Clermont, and then evolved from there, and I ended up assisting with traveling, going out of state with the horse out running. It's a great team, it's great camaraderie, everyone works together, just a really good connection with the horses. Farbridge, originally we had him in our barn as a 2 to 3 year old season, and we campaigned him in Florida. The boss had penciled in the Belmont Derby as a target, but unfortunately we lost him. He got sold, his owner sold him on, but we were incredibly lucky to get him back after he'd had his 3-year-old campaign. He's got his quirks, he's a quirky character, but he's all heart and he's got a serious engine. But he is an incredible horse and we adore him. We just found him unlucky in some of his races. Poor trips, I think he got a bit unlucky. And the other day everything went right and he showed to everyone that he's a top-class individual.
At Farbridge digging in, he's a tough customer. Measured time is lengthening that stride and cutting into every single inch of ground. 16th pole, Farbridge, measured time. Farbridge will not be denied. All the way in the Resorts World Casino Sword Dancer.
These Winning Your In series, it's great to get that straight, that entry, that berth, and it's what everyone's looking for because it's the pinnacle of the racing year. It's the culmination of a year when you're going into these big races. That's where the year ends and that's where you want to go, and it's fabulous to be considered to get that invitation and get the opportunity to run for the Breeders' Cup. Is brilliant. Here, to ride the horse around the track, you need to make a connection with your horse and get a rapport with them because there's a lot going on and I think you need to get a relationship with them. Incredibly lucky to be involved in the industry. It's taken me globe-trotting, and I just feel incredibly lucky to be in the industry. It's a labor of love, but it has taken me all around the world, introduced me to some lovely people, great teams, great horses, and I think that's what it's all about. It's being involved with these horses, getting these relationships and seeing them progress. And it's really rewarding when things go to plan.
Our thanks to Thoroughbred Daily News for that Breeders' Cup connection, looking at Far Bridge. And just another emphasis on how the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series can make these dreams come true. Because like I said, first half of the year was not great for this horse, but then a winning year in, and it changed everything.
And there are people like that connected to every single horse in the Breeders' Cup. You know, upwards of 200 horses, and then all of these individuals that love them and care for them. And Breeders' Cup has an entire series on those connection videos online if you want to watch them. There's so many that they've taken the time to get to know the people that love these horses so much.
Well, we get to know the people in the barn, but also the connections behind Far Bridge. LSU Stables is Larry and Leslie Sarf. They actually went on their first date at the racetrack, Belmont Park, in 1967. Yes. And they've been obviously lifelong horse fans, and they're the ones that purchased this horse, had moved him to Pletcher, put him back with Clement, and they have just been enjoying the ride this horse has taken him on. They love him. I talk to Larry quite frequently. He's a big helper of the backside over in New York. He has been a big Karma donator, PDJF, and he just loves this horse. He just sends me photos of him in his stall and like him petting him, and he's like, look what he's doing today. Like, he loves this horse. It's awesome.
And the renovation break over. Horses are making their way out onto the main track here at Del Mar. Let's check in with Scott Hazelton.
Yeah, Todd, one of those horses that'll be making her way out there for Rusty Arnold is Totally Justified. Kilwin already went out this morning, Rusty. What led you to take Kilwin out early and then wait a little bit for Totally Justified?
Well, one had to go first. We'll probably switch them tomorrow. We just we'll put them about an hour apart just for my crew to get everything done, and no particular reason.
How did they make the journey in from Kentucky?
They look great. Looked like traveled good. They were fresh yesterday afternoon, and the one's been out. She was plenty fresh, and see how the other one is, but everything looks good so far.
Looking at this race, and now it's drawn, post positions drawn yesterday evening here at Del Mar. What was your takeaway for both of these fillies and the opportunity on Friday?
Well, the draw was great for us. It's an extremely tough race. I was talking to Jerry Bailey yesterday on a plane, and he said he thought it was one of the tougher races on the card, which looks that way. But we drew good, and now you've just got to hope for a good trip and hope your horse shows up.
Kilwin went out earlier. How did she make the training here this morning at Del Mar?
Yeah, she's a happy camper so far. She got here late yesterday, and there wasn't a lot of activity, and there's a lot of activity now. So she's taking it all in. They're babies, both of mine are, so they'll learn a lot the next 3 days.
You're in a busy spot here. You got a classic contender, Arthur's Ride, Jonathan's Ways here. We're seeing all sorts of horses and horsemen that we're familiar with. What's it like being back here with all these quality animals?
You know, even as a trainer, it's nice to see these horses. I mean, just nice one, one after another, walking around the shed, so it's great.
Yeah, there's Scottish Lassie. There's a Toyota Bluegrass Stakes winner in Sierra Leone walking right by us. So this is a good spot. Great to see you, Rusty. And we look forward to seeing these fillies competing on Friday.
All right, thank you.
Rusty Arnold had a personal milestone win at Keeneland. He also had a lot of momentum at this Keeneland fall meet, and so he comes in here with some good confidence.
Yeah, and always that quiet confidence, too, as well. Just someone that is very transparent about his horses, a very high percentage year in, year out. Just one of the good guys in the game that tells it like it is, a straight shooter, and the horses are very much the proof of all that hard work.
I love Rusty Arnold. He's always been just a class act to me, and it's great to see him on the biggest stage with some nice horses.
Among that trio out on the track right now is Forever Young, one of your favorites for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, drawing the inside. And something we were talking about yesterday, Michelle, you when watching him out on the racetrack. You know, when we talk about, awe-inspiring, and you see, he just looks like a normal horse in some ways when he goes out there, but I also like his demeanor. He's just very laid back.
That's actually funny that you say that he just looks like a regular horse, because he does when he comes out. He could, if you stuck some English tack on him, he could be easily a little show horse, right? He just comes out there and he's very calm. You can see the rider has a little bit of a looser hold on him. He's just letting this horse do what he wants to do. He is not turning a hair. What a cool cucumber.
As we heard from Joaquin earlier, he is scheduled to have another little piece of work today, and we've seen a lot from him in terms of these longer routines that is very traditional of the Japanese style of training. So the rider comes out with very long stirrups. He gives him a good jog. He'll probably jog once around. At some point they will stop. He'll tuck those stirrups up a little higher before they go out and give him a little bit of a breeze. But when we did see him do so a few days ago, it was more of an open gallop. So we'll see if today is similar to that, in that kind of a 2-minute lick type, but even slower? Or is he actually going to drop him down to the rail, open up his stride, similar to what we saw from Mushba Tesoro earlier?
Well, I will say this. These horses are all equipped with polo bandages. You're not supposed to work in polo bandages. If you look to the left and you see the other Breeders' Cup Classic contender right there, he's wearing a little bit more of an elastic bandage, and that's generally what the horses are supposed to wear when they're working. You're not supposed to work in polos just because of the way they're fastened. So if they are going to work, they're a little
more of a
it might be more of a, well, or maybe like a little, a tiny blowout, but they are not supposed to work in polos.
And something that you were talking about, Michelle, that I don't think we can appreciate here because the grandstand is kind of blocking it. I think it's much breezier out there, out on the track, than over here. It's something definitely that they're dealing with. Let's, while we have a moment here with Forever Young getting set, talk about the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. This is a look at Soul of an Angel.
Safi Joseph trainee here, coming out of a nice victory in the Princess Rooney down at Gulfstream Park. Doesn't break great, and so she's going to be one of those fillies that's coming late. And overall, Christina, I felt like for a sprint race, there wasn't like a super fast horse, right? Like no one opens up 2 or 3 on the field every single time. A lot of these fillies are content to kind of just wait, so she could be at maybe a detriment unless someone just decides to go guns a-blazing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There isn't a whole lot of real fast speed. I think Society will want to be involved. Ways and Means, who's your favorite, won't be too far off of it. Soul of an Angel, just looking at her form overall, her 1-turn races are very good, and I think if you get lost in some of the 2-turn races, which you see on most of her form this year, she's hitting the board, she's right there. She proves her class by finishing 3rd to Raging Sea and Idiomatic, but when she wins, it's around the 1-turn configuration. Getting back to 7 furlongs again here for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, I think is a very positive fact for her. She finished comfortably in that last race in the Princess Rooney. I see her as one that is going to come rallying from off the pace, but will Society and Ways and Means come back to her is the question.
And it looks to be a wide open edition of the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Soul of an Angel about to break off here and have a live work here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. And Safi Joseph Jr., he's had some breakthrough wins in his career, but trying to break through here at the Breeders' Cup over these 2 championship days.
I think one thing to remember about the horses coming out of South Florida as well is with the weather, with the hurricanes, there was a lot of interrupted training. We've seen that reflected most notably in the Jose D'Angelo horses. This particular mare, she worked September the 14th. She ran September 21st. The next work that you see for her was October 15th. So that's 3 weeks subsequent to her race, which some people will give horses a little bit more time to recover before you come back on the work tab like that. She had all those route races under her belt, but occasionally you'd see a work a little sooner after a race than that. She has that one. She has the October 21st. This is her opportunity for some finishing touches. But with that stop and start and maybe not even being able to go out and gallop, you do have to consider that in the preparations for all of the horses coming out of South Florida this year.
Before she ran the Purcell Ensign, she worked a week out from that, and then she had a break for 3 weeks also in that particular instance. This would be a very close to the race kind of work for her, judging at her tab, but you can see it's not letting her do much. It's more of an open gallop.
Yeah, it still has a good tight hold of her, kind of let her open up her stride just a little bit coming down the stretch there. She switches leads on cue, has a nice long hold. She looks like a kind mare to ride, kind mare to work.
I hope so. When she comes from so far behind, you don't want to be fighting her the whole time, right?
Soul of an Angel finishing up one of her final major preparations leading to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. That gives you a little bit better idea of the breeze they're dealing with down at the trackside here at Del Mar. We'll be back with more Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup after this.
The highest honor in any sport is to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Those who enter these hallowed halls bear witness to greatness, as the horses enshrined within are known as the Great Ones, the Immortals. With just 4 crops to race, Horse of the Year Gunrunner has sired 10 Grade 1 winners and 13 millionaires, which has him poised to etch his name alongside the greatest stallions of the modern era. Gunrunner.
Researchers have identified 34,000 unique human feelings. But which feeling feels best? That would have to be winning. A chance at winning's what you get every day on FanDuel Casino's reward machine with a $2 grand top prize. Yes, winning is number one. it ranks higher than number 30, saying, I told you so.
Told you so.
Number 89, the feeling of catching your car keys with one hand. And number 78, thinking it's Friday when it's really Saturday. Those are pretty good, but not as good as new players getting up to $1,000 back in casino bonus and 350 bonus spins for the number one feeling, winning, which beats number 58, not jogging, and even beats number 18, the feeling of saving a kid from a well, 59 years later. The feeling of winning can't be beat. Feel it for yourself on the number one rated casino app, FanDuel Casino.
So if you're happy and you know it, throw your hands up and show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. And if you love the life you're living, go ahead and dive right in and shake it like you mean it. Do a little dance. Show me what you got. Oh, 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 oh. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
Find your happiness in San Diego.
Welcome back to a breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Never shy to comment on just about anything in the industry, and also very confident in his horses. Owner Mike Rapoli, and he said if you want to bet the winner of the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, bet that horse right there. His Fierceness.
You know what I love is just watching the way that Fierceness has been galloping around the track here at Del Mar, because if you think back to the way that he was galloping going in to the Kentucky Derby, he's always been a little more laid back, but he was very much off the bridle. He was a little lighter in terms of the weight that he was carrying, and off the heels of such a big performance in the Florida Derby, the physical signs were there that it was catching up to him. And I think we were all so enchanted with those speed figures that you still kind of wanted to get behind Fierceness. At the end of the day, he needs more time between races, and he has had that since the Travers coming into this Breeders' Cup.
I think that was an excellent observation, just how much weight he's gained. Obviously, we don't have a lot of weight opportunities to like have the real weights, but he does look thicker and more mature.
Okay, let's go to the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. Torpedo Anna looming there as a heavy favorite. What about Japan's Hope with awesome result?
I love this filly. She's so beautiful. She's all class. She has a lovely stride. A daughter of Justify out of a deputy minister mare. She's undefeated at 7 for 7, and she was 5 lengths clear in her prep race. That's the Breeders' Gold Cup over a sloppy track going 1.25 miles. You're not going to find any other horses in here that are backing up in trip to the 1 1/8 for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Not many.
Man, she really has a big ground covering stride, doesn't she? And she keeps her head a little bit on the low side. This is not what they want to hear right now. I wouldn't mind trying her on the grass.
Yeah. With that kind of pedigree. I mean, the Justifies can do it all.
Awesome result in the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. Out on the track live here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Okay, we were looking at Forever Young coming out with a couple of other horses from Japan, and the media is everywhere, and there's a lot of curiosity about this horse because he came over to the Kentucky Derby and pulled off what had prior to that point been unthinkable. A Japanese-based horse winning the Kentucky Derby. He was very unlucky in there. Michelle Yu is also a controversial finish, but Forever Young, in his return to the races in Japan, seems to be set up perfectly to run another big race here in America.
I agree. I think this is a horse that's proven time and time again he can run a good race and then back it up with a good race. It's not every horse that can do that. A lot of times you have to have a peak performance and then you kind of plateau or you go down before you can have another peak performance. And this horse just seems to have constant upward trajectory.
Yoshida Yahagi also said that he was not 100% for the Japan Dirt Classic, that they brought him back up to that race because they had this race in mind. He was still able to win that pretty comfortably, according to the track comments. He was 1.25 lengths clear. So now we have the clue. You see the rider has shortened his stirrups. We are going to see that little piece of work here today from Forever Young. And to pick up on your initial point about the media attention, I've noticed all week that the Japanese riders, they are very aware that these horses are the stars. They make it a point to walk up to the cameras, to walk up to the media, to walk up to anyone with a cell phone and to share these horses with the fans and the media that are out there every morning.
Well, when you go to Japan, everybody there is a star, right? I mean, you get off the bus and you're with any of the riders or the connections, and there are fans screaming with their cameras. It's like getting off with,
like a rock star.
NSYNC, I was going to say. They are definitely accustomed to it, and I think that they know how much we really enjoy it. And looking at him here, he looks so good. You mentioned that Yoshida Yahagi said he wasn't quite ready for the Japan Dirt Classic. He told us the same thing before the Saudi Derby, right? The horse wasn't that ready to go, and he still was able to win that. And then you saw him really improve from the Saudi Derby to the UAE Derby. So if we're going to see that similar progression from the Japan Dirt Classic to the Breeders' Cup Classic, and we've already seen him run well against the other 3-year-olds in this country, I mean, he's got to be a really, really serious contender.
We'll keep our cameras on Forever Young and check back in with him. There is Arzak out on the track, back again for another try in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint last year, going 5 furlongs at Santa Anita, split the field, finished mid-pack in that field of 12. But now 5 furlongs at Del Mar. How different of a trip is it where we were last year at Santa Anita versus the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint here at Del Mar?
Well, it is quite a different trip, but I think it's a trip that he likes. I think if you look back through his form, I mean, look, he was second to Cogburn in the Jaipur. He was second by 3.5 lengths that day, but a lot of his best races that we see at Keeneland at 5.5, he's right there, he's able to stalk. But if we are all so high on Cogburn and the fastest horse in the world and ran 5 furlongs in sub-minute, Arzak was the horse that was able to run second that day. So I wouldn't completely dismiss his chances.
If I'm going to play devil's advocate, it's that this turn to home at Del Mar is extremely quick. They rocket off that turn, and it seems like it's 2 strides and you're at the wire. So for a horse that comes from off of it, you're going to have to make that trip. And sometimes it's up the rail where the temporary rail gives away, and sometimes you'll have to try to go wide and really power down. But it is worth noting the shortened length of the stretch here at Del Mar.
One of the first terms I heard from gamblers when I started out at the racetrack was a vacuum horse. A horse that everybody thinks is going to win, and then they suck up everyone's money and don't get it back. Sierra Leone always gets bet, and we always think this is the race, and it doesn't happen. Could it happen now in the Breeders' Cup Classic?
Maybe now the price will be better. How about that? He's taking all of our money at this low price. If you're going to get much better odds on him, now might be the time to kind of put your money down. The problem with him maybe in his last couple is the field sizes weren't as big, is what Steve Haskin told me. He likes him better in a big field because he seems to run just a little bit better. I will say this, he looks a lot more mentally mature right now, doesn't he, than he looked this summer?
I think any added time, any added experience is only going to benefit this horse. And I really hope we get to see him at 4 years old, because it's always been clear that the talent has been there. He is a Grade 1 winner. You're not going to change his style at this point. They've tinkered with the equipment to get the best out of him that they can. I think there's a little concern with the shorter stretch here at Del Mar versus some of the other courses that he's been successful at in terms of getting a piece of it. But time, distance, maturity is only going to help a horse like Sierra Leone.
Yeah, it sounds like you just described his sire, Gunrunner, because he was a force at the age of 4, and then he went out in a blaze, including a win in the Classic here at Del Mar. Highland Falls is on your screen as well. On the left side, there is Highland Falls, who last time out took the Jockey Club Gold Cup.
Highland Falls has really come to hand for Brad Cox, and I think if you look through his races, the amount of quarter distance is where he gets and earns some of his highest speed figures. I was very impressed by his effort in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Arthur's ride was all over him, and he pushed right back in a good way. No one's going to push him around on the racetrack. He's 5 for 9 lifetime. I think he's been very well managed overall, Michelle. I don't think he's really knocked heads with the heavy hitters as often as some of the other horses coming into this race, but he's proven at the distance.
That could have been by design too, right? I mean, he's bred by a Breeders' Cup winner, out of a Breeders' Cup winner. You just want this horse to kind of develop and be a really good horse. And Brad kind of taking his time and picking those spots really could be imperative to him having a good Classic showing.
And bringing the action now back to Forever Young, preparing for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. have we seen him work very much? I mean, we watch his races a lot, but have we seen this action in the mornings very often?
Well, I haven't yet, but do note they are putting him on the rail with that company outside, right? So with that rail draw, they are trying to imitate that a little bit here. Still so late to change leads, but at least he gets it done. We've seen him pretty much not change leads before in a race. So look at the energy that he shows to like get inside that horse. He really thrives on being next to another horse. You know, he was trying to catch up earlier, but once he got next to that horse, he has some real determination. I think that bodes well for him. And I love to see him right there. He didn't look like he wanted to lug out at all.
I love that acceleration that we saw from him. He's such a professional, this horse. Even when he's out jogging, when he's schooling, no matter what he does, they put him through along the inside there in company. And as soon as he locked on to that horse, he knew exactly what they wanted him to do. Pick it up, go by, throttle down across the wire. He just does everything right. He's your straight A student every time you send him out there.
So how do you interpret they matched him up with a 2-year-old? That was a Corozal who's preparing for the juvenile. You don't often get 2-year-olds working with older horses.
You want this horse to gain some confidence.
Yeah.
You know, Corozal was designed to set the pace out there, and he kept up with him across the wire. I think you give that horse, you know, some credit for accelerating himself, even though he had the head start in this work. But this was designed to remind Forever Young of his job. Look, he went all the way wide in the Kentucky Derby. Now, in the circumstance of the Breeders' Cup Classic drawn from the rail, he's probably going to have to cut a corner here or there.
Michelle, you got a wandering eye. Who is that?
Awesome result just walked by us. So I'm very excited right now. Like Andy was fangirling earlier.
Yeah,
I'm going to fangirl
awesome
right now. Like, here, let's see who else is coming. We're blocked by a pony, so I can't see the numbers.
Well, and I would imagine Forever Young's going to come through here because the Japanese have, you know, after they've been done on the main track, they take a spin through the
Brad
paddock.
Sell.
And Brad Sell for the turf sprint coming through. And a cavalcade of stars. And so many people who are just fans of the sport have set up around the paddock because they know the routine. They've watched it here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, and they go and take advantage of that. Andy?
Todd, Mark Cassie himself has shipped in. All his horses have trained. Mark, you've got 3 runners in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf this year.
Yes, yeah, we're excited. Drew all different posts, so we'll see.
What do you think of the field overall?
I mean, it's truly international. I was saying to somebody this morning, I've never seen it like this, which is good. This is what the Breeders' Cup's supposed to be. Good for the Breeders' Cup, not so good for us.
Oh, it's a tough field, but I'm a big fan of Vixen myself.
I am too. She just trained really well. Drew a tough post, so Johnny's going to have to work that out. You know, especially on the turf miles, you know, the outside post is tough.
You also have Lacara running in the Juvenile Fillies. We saw her win impressively in the Grade 3 Pocahontas. How do you feel about that transition from a 1-turn mile to a 2-turn mile?
Well, I wish we did have a 2-turn, you know, but I just felt like the Alcibiades was a little too quick back. Was it the Alcibiades? So we're going to go with the 1 mile, you know, with the, but I wish we did. But she's extremely smart, and she learned a lot in the Pocahontas. You know, she had won very impressively at Saratoga on the lead or close to it. It was expecting the same, and she got away bad. So she did learn a lot. Has trained just great since the Pocahontas. So it's a tough race, but she's going to be tough.
She sure will be. And how do you feel like everybody's trained this morning?
Great.
That's all we want. Great is good. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thanks for.
Back to you guys.
The Aiden Army. I mean, look, we could have the most boring shows, and we don't. There's always something every morning that some of it unexpected here at Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. But the one moment that always comes through on these shows is when Aiden O'Brien's Army shows up at the racetrack. You're not going to want to miss this. You've seen it before. You're going to want to see it again.
You just have to get in the seat of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Not because of how easy it is to use, or because of our expert dealers. Not even because it has implements for every job. You just have to get in the seat, because breaking ground on your dream home feels pretty great. John Deere is proud to be the official partner of the Breeders' Cup World Championships.
Hey, so I found a betting system that's really working great for me.
So did I. What's yours?
I set up an hour-a-week time limit on FanDuel. I can also set up wager limits, so I only bet what I can afford, and betting stays fun.
Right.
So what's your system?
What's that?
Your system. What's your system? What is that?
Every bettor has a system. Make FanDuel's responsible gaming tools a key part of yours. Any NBA play can inspire your next hunch. And with 3 months of NBA League Pass from FanDuel, you're about to get a whole lot more inspiration. So if you think they're going to rock the rim right out of the gates, hello, or you want to RSVP to the block party,
there he is. Yes, sir.
Or you think it's going to start raining threes,
let's go!
FanDuel has more ways to bet on players so you can make your hunches happen. Right now, new customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Plus, all customers get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. FanDuel, America.
When you're ready. Welcome back to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, a Tuesday morning here at Del Mar. I'm Todd Trupp alongside Christina Blacker and Michelle Yu on our desk just off the paddock where a lot of horses, after being on the main track, have come back through, and taking a look right now at another horse from Japan.
Tio St. Denis right there on the track.
Dirt mile competitor, and we've had the chance to see him a couple times so far this week as we flip forward to his
he
form.
came over on that Derby undercard and ran a pretty good race, setting the pace extensively before being bested by First Mission, who obviously has excellent back class for him. This is the first time I've gotten to see him. Looks nice and relaxed out here.
And you mentioned the pace. I mean, he's quick enough to keep up in the early stages, which is really key. 22 and 4. I mean, they went fairly quick in the Ali Sheba. He was right there.
Tio St. Denis getting ready for the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. And as we talked about, Aiden O'Brien about to send out his horses in his unique way. And it is going to be a parade of stars. City of Troy managing to shine amongst a group of horses who have accomplishments that are the envy of other yards. But City of Troy, you have watched him on the turf. We're going to get a chance to see him on the dirt in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Wow, what a presence.
Can I say something embarrassing for him, though? He got a little poop on his leg right there. You can see like he had a little bit of loose poop.
As long as you're not saying it about me.
Everyone's going to take a picture of him. He's going to have poop on his hock.
Oh, but it's the flaxen tail that I'm focusing on.
It might be poop.
And if you had over 3.5 times the mention of poop on the show, you can cash your ticket. Aiden's Army out on the racetrack. And how many times roughly will they go around here? And before they
in years past, they don't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
They go the wrong way once, and then they turn around and they do one big long gallop, and then they head home. Yeah.
And do they clear the rest of the track for them? And sometimes they've been out there by themselves. But is that the case here?
Well, that depends if they've cleared quarantine or not. So depending on the quarantine rules, some of the tracks have made a specific time frame for horses that haven't yet cleared quarantine to be able for them to get on the track, but they can't be on the track with horses that are, in the free and clear. So if they have cleared quarantine, then they might be out with Gen Pop. But if not, they have to be alone.
Because the deadline was October 27th at 10 p.m. So there were a few nights ago that all of the international horses had to be here, and this day, the 29th, was our first expected day to see them. So we've reached the point of no return for arrivals. If you're coming internationally, you had to have been here. So pretty sure everybody is out on the track that wants to be at this time. It's 8:15. We're an hour past the renovation break, so it should be a somewhat quiet time period out there. We've already seen the horses go out for breezes that we're going to, but this is always that magical moment of the Breeders' Cup where the global feel of the entire event really sets in.
So this is what I love too, is Aiden puts these horses in an order that he feels like they need to be. So if you have a little bit more of a forward mind, you're in the front. If you're a bit more of a follower, he puts them behind, right? And you see City of Troy second horse there after the horse that's alongside the pony. So to me, that shows that he mentally is very smart. He handles stuff very well. He doesn't get, bothered by outside circumstances. I just love that for him coming in and trying these new things. And this is obviously the first time that we've seen him on the dirt. Some horses can't stand up on dirt, okay? This horse is getting over the dirt fine at this jog. I can't wait to see him gallop, but as of now, I'd say he doesn't look uncomfortable on it.
So a lot has been made of the fact that Coolmore has won just about every race around the world, but when it comes to the Breeders' Cup, which they have supported as strongly as anyone with numbers and quality horses coming over here, they've tried to win the Classic and they have not. It is really remarkable if you step back and think about it. City of Troy is the morning line favorite for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. That was unthinkable at the beginning of the Breeders' Cup, that we'd have a horse come from overseas in our signature race and be the morning line favorite. But that is the case. City of Troy at 5-2, with Fierceness being the second choice at 3-1. But if you look at the accomplishments of City of Troy, if you take out the dirt part of it, he absolutely is deserved of the morning line favoritism.
Yeah, like he's the best horse in Europe, and he is the classiest horse, that they've had the opportunity to bring to the Classic. I also think a part of it is the momentum, is the buildup, is the marketing. We've been talking about this horse since the day he broke his maiden. I was actually on the air for us in July of 2023 that morning, and there was already so much anticipation for him as a maiden first time out. So this is a goal and this is a target that has been very much on the radar, and it's been discussed in interviews all the way back to last year. At some point, will you go to America? At some point, will you try the Travers? At some point, they talked about this with him because of his pedigree, being a son of Justify. And so a big part of that is just the anticipation of this athlete trying something new, and can he conquer the world for Coolmore?
That is a great logo there. Speaking of conquering the world.
Is that in the merchandise tent?
I was going to say,
I went to see Fight On.
Yeah, senior producer Chris Lee desperately wants one of those as well. But look at everyone in the grandstand turning their attention towards this site, and there is the perspective that really gives you an idea of how special and how unique this is. Aidan O'Brien and his clients back to support the Breeders' Cup. And, you talk about Aidan O'Brien and all his accomplishments overseas. I think about what he does for the Breeders' Cup. We have all this focus now. It's almost like the shiny object. Yeah, there's 19 Japanese horses, but Aidan O'Brien has been here for decades, and it's meant a lot to this event.
Has, and I think if you also consider the global operation that he's running, look, he's got horses in the Melbourne Cup, and so he supports racing around the world with these horses, and just the logistics of it all, the personnel, how many riders came with these horses, where are these riders staying, who's driving them to and from. There's so much to manage, and you have to appreciate the team and the business side of bringing this many horses to an international event like this.
It's like that athletic team in any other sport. They're so good that you show up early just to watch the shoot around, or show up early just to watch them stretch out on the field. This is what it's like with Aidan O'Brien. And it's something, Michelle, that Christina brought up about all the people that it takes to pull this off. Team O'Brien, what about the perspective? We talk about these exercise riders. Is this truly, I wonder how many applications they get to be part of, you know what I mean? Like, if you get to be one of these exercise riders, it's got to be almost a career-defining moment, right?
You would think so, right? To get to, because the horse flesh you're going to be getting on is the best in the literal world. So you have to be someone that's obviously a good hand. What I love that Aidan always does too is you don't see, all of his riders are not teeny tiny, right? Mm-hmm. There's some riders that are taller. You see the rider on 860 right there is a little bit on the heavier side. Like, I feel like here we're a lot more focused on you have to be small to ride. And I think Aidan's bringing some natural horsemanship in here. You can be a good-sized person and still be able to ride these.
Nice to see Dad let Donica's horse into the line as well. Yes. That was Porta Fortuna at the end, so she gets to benefit from the team experience. Not that she needs any help. She's already gone all over the world with success.
I love her. She's like one of the horses I'm looking at. Everyone wants to see City of Troy. I can't wait to see what she's going to do here. I mean, I'm as such a Goldakova stan to have another filly that could be really tremendous coming in. She has such great momentum, and she has connections that we're happy to root for over here. I've just been so impressed with how she's been running over seas, and I'm really excited to see her.
She's kept the absolute top class competition overseas as well. A winner of the Group 1 Matron, a winner of the Falmouth, a winner of the Coronation Cup at Ascot. She was second in the 1,000 guineas and second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf last year by just a half length.
Aiden's Army out on the track here at Del Mar while others continue their preparations, and you can see communication going on there at the front of the line.
Talking to the back of the line?
Yeah, that's what we're here. Yeah, we're up here about a quarter mile ahead, and the numbers are impressive, but it's also what we talked about, and Michelle alluded to, the quality is just off the charts. Okay, we'll check in with Aiden's Army, but right now we have another Japanese entrant out on the track getting ready for their championship moment.
Theo St. Denis again. We had a chance to have a quick look at him a few seconds ago. He is expected to work today, as many of the Japanese horses have. He's been to the States before, as we mentioned. He was second to First Mission in the Ali Shiba. A little bit of a prep race there in August over in Japan, and now he enters the race fresh.
Yeah, it looks good right here. You mentioned fresh. He looks fresh. You can see the rider has a pretty good hold, and his mouth is open. So that's a horse that wants to do more than his rider's letting him do. He's trying to keep his stride a little bit more abbreviated, but still at a very quick cadence right now.
Ears up, looking forward. It looks like he has a hood on as well, so that will just muffle a little bit of the sounds and, all of the atmospherics going on around him. He might have some cotton in his ears underneath that hood. And again, just another measure that we use to try and keep horses calm and as calm as possible. He's going to come around the turn here, and he's still in a pretty good hold. You can see that sort of L shape in the rider's elbows. He's got contact with his mouth. He's not having to pull too hard. He's not having to really throttle him down, but they're very much in sync right now with what he wants to do. Now here, we're going to ask him for a little bit more. There's some acceleration right as we come into the turn from this horse.
Beautiful lead change there. I mean, you could almost not even see it. And now he's really going to ask this horse. You see him throw his lines a couple of times at him, and now he's working on his neck. And this horse is giving you huge acceleration. We're a little close to see how fast he's going, but that was a very, very quick acceleration from him. There was no, I need 3 or 4 strides to get going. He said go, and TKO Dennis said okay.
It was the end of an era last year, Cody's Wish. It also turned out to be the moment of the year at the Eclipse Awards. What a race it was in the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. But now we don't have a dominant horse looming over this division. To me, this race looks to be wide open, so why not a horse like Theo St. Denis?
Yeah, I think it's one of the more intriguing races on the day, and I think it's also worth mentioning that Breeders' Cup is hosting the Dorman family at the Breeders' Cup this year. They will be here. Remember, in addition to the anniversary of Cody's Wish winning for the second time, it's also the anniversary of their son's passing. So I'm thrilled to say that as a racing community, we're embracing them. They are part of our family, and we're there for them, and we hope that they can have an enjoyable few days.
Yeah,
here.
that'll be the concluding championship race on Saturday. Michelle, we're looking at City of Troy. It's a cool morning, getting lathered on the neck there. Any concern with what you're seeing here?
Well, it's hard for us to say because I don't watch him train. Is this him normally? Then no concern.
Yeah, I've been on the air for plenty of his races. As Jess Stafford has worked with us, overseas, he does this. He gets hot. He gets warm. He does this in the morning. He even did so in some film that I saw on social media from last week at home. And if anywhere he's going to be calm and training, that would be at Ballydoyle at home. This is what he does. Don't be concerned if he does it on race day, and if he gets even hotter on race day as well.
The thing that's a positive about him is you see his demeanor the whole time hasn't really changed. So while he is getting sweaty, right, he's still acting very good. You're not seeing him do anything silly. He's not spooking at things a whole lot. He's not trying to go in another direction. He's not trying to run off. He is doing everything you're asking. He just runs a little bit hotter, as some of us know, Todd.
It's also it's also worth noting when you're talking about horses that sweat, there is a protein in a horse's coat that secretes a bit of an enzyme, and when it is mixed with sweat, it creates that lather. The lather is not necessarily a bad thing. When you see horses absolutely dripping and pouring sweat, That's a concern because they're sweating so fast that their body doesn't have the opportunity to create that lather, which acts as a cooling agent to them and to their skin. It's like a dog that you see panting. It's a good thing. When you see a dog panting, that's how they're cooling themselves down. The lather helps a horse cool down.
Now to Team Godolphin, Charlie Appleby with his contingent out on the racetrack.
They look nice. They're all matching in blue. Just we have the Aiden team in maroon, and we've got Charlie Appleby's group here all in blue. I mean, I'm a big fan of Charlie Appleby. He does so good in the Breeders' Cup. It's really hard to look beyond a lot of his horses. So this is going to be a contingent of horses that's going to be garnering a lot of wagering attention.
And Charlie Appleby's presence here in America is just another example of how we're all connected in this ecosystem, and the purse money being better for some of his horses, so he kept a string of horses over here instead of spending most of the summer overseas. And so do you think that'll be a benefit for some of his horses in the Breeders' Cup that they've been here in the United States most of the time?
Yeah, I think anytime you can spend more time in, a particular country, if that's where you're running, that's certainly a benefit to your horse and to their ability to be acclimated and to compete. That said, he's had no problem coming in right on top of the races and winning them time and time again. And I think you're also just seeing a real global shift in racing because of his presence. He's consistently in New York, consistently running horses at Saratoga, sending horses to Keeneland. And that's changing the way that we as Americans have to prepare our horses and the type and caliber of horses we have to bring to these grade ones now. If he's bringing the best that he has, not his second or third string over, we need to run and we need to step it up with our horses too.
And Michelle, it's a remarkable streak when you look at the mile. He has won it the last 3 years. Wow. I mean, we talk about horses winning consecutive. Charlie Appleby has a chance to win the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile for a fourth consecutive year. Okay, back to Aiden O'Brien, and his horse is now getting a little bit more serious out on the main track.
Now, this is what we want to see, right? We want to see how does City of Troy look galloping on dirt, because that's the question. Is he going to handle the main track? Oh yeah, he likes it.
So why do you say that? To someone who doesn't know how to watch a horse's stride and see the difference of a horse that maybe prefers the turf over the dirt, what are you seeing here from City of Troy that says, oh yeah, he likes the dirt?
So I'm not going to say he doesn't prefer the turf over the dirt, but you can see he's getting over it fine. There are some horses that they just look awkward. Like if you think about you going and running on the beach, and I videoed that.
That's very awkward.
Okay,
yeah.
But then if you ran across like the middle of the Del Mar paddock, how would you look, right?
Okay.
Your body would just be more fluid. You have a little bit more of a grip and a hold to be able to push off of. So that is a really big indicator. When you watch some turf horses on the main track, they just can't even get out of their own way half the time. This horse is skipping over this main track, and they put a bunch of sand on it yesterday, so it could be a little bit deeper than it even has been. He doesn't look like it's causing an issue at all. He doesn't look like he's struggling. You don't see his head taking dips where he's, getting caught up in the cuppiness of the main track, which is what the main track is. We're at the end of a whole training day with only one renovation break. He's just, look at his little legs. He's just like boom, 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 like skipping over that.
We talked about how beautiful his stride is, and you can see that, in his races. You can see it also in that work at Southwell, but nice to see that kind of floating action from him.
What is that? It's like a dressage horse right now.
That we've, seen over the other surfaces. He's even, he's got a lot of horse here. He's about to catch up to Luxembourg, and he's having to throttle down just a little bit. We have the order that these horses are in. I'm trying to get it from the crew.
Luxembourg is in front.
City of Troy in second.
And then Diego Velasquez is the horse with all the white that looks like talismanic. That's Diego Velasquez. I think the next horse is Henry Matisse. And then Heaven's Gate. Because they were definitely in that order. Those are the ones that we kind of got to see earlier on.
Here we go. It's just come in thanks to Emily Shields. So Luxembourg first, City of Troy second, Diego Velasquez third, Henri Matisse fourth. Michelle, you're on it. Woo. Whistle Jacket, then Ides of March, Wingspan, Ylang, Heaven's Gate, Lake Victoria, Content, and Porto Fortuna. The last
I would love to see a closer look of Wingspan, actually, because when we went by the first time around, I thought that horse looked super, super good. See, here's an example. The horse at the back end, can you guys pan back a little bit? Am I allowed to set produce? Doesn't look as comfortable on the dirt, right? Like you can just see that the stride is not as smooth as City of Troy's was, in my opinion.
Would you see a horse swapping back and forth on leads if they didn't like the surface? Would that be an indicator at all? That just
I think that horse just really wanted to do a lot more than he was being allowed to do at that point. Oh, there's Wingspan. Doesn't this horse look so good? I don't even know a lot about this horse, but I picked it out going right by, and wow, does he look really good.
Wingspan will be in the Longines Breeders' Cup Turf on Saturday.
So he's coming out of a runner-up, or she, excuse me, coming out of a runner-up effort in the Champions Day Filly and Mare. She was second before that in the Blandford, both of those going that extended distance. And she's a horse that likes to be in touch or forwardly placed. She looks tremendous right now. She's, honestly, she doesn't look that, like, big, but
well,
oof,
I think you get that
nice.
from the Dubawi. She's a daughter of Dubawi, not always, you know, the biggest types in stature. He himself wasn't, but one mark of them that you get is just their determination. You look at so many offspring of Dubawi across the wire, and when they are in competition, ears flat against their back, they pinned. They're just tough as nails.
Look at her doing the Zenyatta.
Yeah, the Zenyatta.
She just grew a whole new fan base with that one
Forever
move.
known as
Keep
the
it going, girl.
Forever known as the Zenyatta.
It is called a goose step, and she is Wingspan, but all of us are fans of Zenyatta, and she used to do that. That's another horse, just lots of energy to expel right now, and trying to expel it in any way they possibly can, because obviously Aiden didn't want to go out there and do too much with them.
Wingspan, as mentioned, a 3-year-old filly taking on the boys and the Longines Breeders' Cup Turf on Saturday. And part of this contingent that includes City of Troy, your morning line favorite for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Hope you enjoyed this last segment, because we certainly did. But there's much more to come on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup Tuesday, leading up to 2 championship days of racing Friday and Saturday here at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. We'll be back.
There has never been a better time to download the FanDuel Racing app. What are you waiting for? Sign up is quick and easy. There are 0 deposit fees, and withdrawals come super fast. Easily track your wagers, rapidly build new tickets, and quickly view potential payouts with FanDuel's My Bets experience. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $500. If your first bet doesn't win, don't sweat it. Get up to $500 back as a racing bonus. Download now.
Douglas. I'm a writer, director, and I'm still working. In the kind of work that I do, you are surrounded by people who are all younger than you. I had to get help somewhere along the line to stay competitive. I discovered Prevagen. I started taking it, and after a period of time, my memory improved. It was a game changer for me.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription.
Looking for bloodstock that shapes the world? You can find it here. Foundation mares that will shape the breed. Weanlings with prime potential. Your next moment in the winner's circle. It's all waiting for you here at the world's marketplace. Keeneland November breeding stock sale, where the future is found. Beginning Tuesday, November 5th.
Elegance is an attitude.
So if you're happy and you know it, throw your hands up and show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. And if you love the life you're living, go ahead and dive right in and shake it, shake it like you mean it. Do a little dance. Show me what you got. Oh, 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 oh. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
Find your happiness in San Diego.
It was raining cats and dogs. It was so horrible. There was mud everywhere, and I texted the assistant trainer, Scott Blasi, said, how does he like the mud? And Scott said, I don't know, I've never seen anything like this before. But the skies cleared slightly, although it was still a muddy mess.
Field for the Breeders' Cup Classic, sent on their way to a perfect beginning.
We were kind of nervous, but we were waiting for him to make that first corner. And when he did that with ease, we didn't worry as much anymore.
Into the turn they go in the Classic, and Hard Spun has ensured a good pace. Then we come back to Curlin. Street Sense just waiting patiently down at the rail. And
we knew that that would be the Horse of the Year race because everyone had been battling it out throughout the year.
Curlin and Street Sense are making their runs now, and Street Sense is threatening to run a big one. Street Sense and Curlin, they got to get to Hard Spun.
It was wonderful to watch him come from a little ways out of it and past that great crop.
A three-horse race as they turn for home in the big one. Hard Spun, but Curlin is breathing down his neck. Street Sense literally scraping the paint, but Curlin strikes the front, and Curlin is powerhousing home. Hard Spun, Street Sense did not go on, and it's all Curlin in the race of the year. For Horse of the Year, it's Curlin in an absolutely stylish performance.
That was one of the best. It may be the best. That was the ultimate race. He's responsible for a lot of our success, and you know, we take the best care of him, always have, and always will.
Well, alongside me is a man with quite an incredible record at the Breeders' Cup, Charlie Appleby. It's got better and better every year, Charlie. You've picked out a strong team once again. We're going to go through them, if that's okay. But before that, you just watched all the Aidan O'Brien horses come past here. It is a lovely atmosphere, but what is it like for you as a competitor when you turn up, you see all the fellow competitors, obviously Aidan, the Americans, and the juices? Are they flowing?
For sure. Look, it's what we all look forward to this time of year. It's a championship meeting. You're getting all the best horses from Europe and around the world that you know, they've all campaigned at the highest level, and here is sometimes the deciding factor on who is the best at the end of the year. So yeah, of course it's great. Aidan's got a great team there. And I've seen a few of the Americans. Obviously, it's been quite nice. Don't want to say I'm one of the home team here, but we've got our team here that we've been campaigning throughout the summer. So I don't feel quite so alien on these shores anymore.
No, you're certainly with all the horses that you've campaigned here through the summer season, and part of the scene here in America. But let's go through the horses, starting with the juvenile turf, and you've got Amori City and Al Qudra. What are their respective merits? Obviously, Amori City's got an awkward draw.
Yeah, unfortunately for William, it was one of those conversations we had before we made the declarations. They're hard to split on what they've achieved in their racing careers and as individuals and the way they've been training of late. It really was. And I said, well, you can guarantee whatever you do pick, the draw's going to beat you, and unfortunately that's what's happened. So we start with Amori City. Obviously won the Vintage, then went on, I felt, ran a creditable race there on slower ground there in the National Stakes. For me, he would have been one of what I would call sort of a tailor-made sort of Breeders' Cup juvenile horse. Just the stature of him. He's neat. He's likes quick ground. He's sharp. He ticks a lot of boxes, as I feel, and like I said, the sort of his race record to date, I feel he fits in very well. But the draw was obviously going to be the hardest part.
How unlucky was Al Qudra in Canada?
I don't think we're unlucky. At the end of the day, look, we've beaten by a nice horse there. Obviously, Al Qudra beat him at Ascot, and then but he subsequently came out and then won at Salisbury afterwards. New Century there, and a horse like Al Qudra, I felt that was his first start, as well as the winners round there, and you can't beat having your first start. And we're drawn differently this time round, so obviously Al Qudra's down in 4 there, I think it is, and Andrew's horse is there out in, I think, 11. So we're obviously happy with our draw, and he's trained well since his run.
Let's move on and talk about the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, and you've got Star of Mystery, who's been a wonderful filly all year long. If she's had at her best and she gets the breaks, what are the chances?
Yeah, like I say, she's got to have the breaks, and it's all very well. We can all, and I do tend to say, you need a draw, but once you get the draw, you need a better break from the draw as well, which is the next challenge that we leave to the jocks. But she's put up two good performances here. I felt, when she ran first up at Saratoga in the Grade 1 there against the Colts there. I mean, bless her, you couldn't see her for most of the field there because she was, she's small. But she pleased me the way she broke and she travelled around there, gained valuable experience, came out, won very easily on her second start. Then it was rained off the third start there, so she shipped to Keeneland there and obviously had a run there just sort of 3 weeks ago there, and I was pleased. Look, she was probably an unlucky loser at the end of the day, but it didn't worry me. She got a nice run into herself without being asked too many serious questions. So, she's got a draw, she's got experience, she'll be bang there.
And in the Breeders' Cup Turf, you've got a horse that must be very close to your heart in Rebels Romance, particularly the way he's come back this season. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't need to say anything about Rebels Romance. Everybody knows about him now. He's travelled all around the world, and he's always runs with his heart on his sleeve there. And he's travelled over great. I was delighted with the run there in Germany, and we had sort of given him a nice break there after Ascot, because that was a grueling race there, and I felt he left there with credit. Although finishing third and being beaten, but when you've got Blue Stocking and Goliath in front of you, it's not too bad. And that run that day, they went hard, and he's the only one that sort of maintained that gallop. The winner and the second came off the pace, and Julie went and ran the way they did. So. We purposely gave him a break. Went to Germany, I would say, sort of 85% there, 90, and we knew that, and his race style showed that as well. The last sort of 100 yards there, he was half gearing down himself, but was just getting a bit tired as well. And Will said that day he got off him, he says he'll improve a ton for that. So and thankfully he's shown the right signs that hopefully that improvement has come, and he goes there in great shape. Just thinking about his achievements, and if he were to recapture the crown of winning the turf again, what would that mean to you for the horse?
Look, he was muted there the other day. I think someone wrote a piece there about some of the horses that Godolphin have had down through the years, and some great horses we all know. But he's built his own sort of fan club and his stature himself. And if he can go and do it again, it'll be a fantastic for the horse first and foremost, but the whole team. To have these horses for as long as he's a 6-year-old there now, and for them to stay around and do it on the top table like he does, that's some achievement.
The filly and mare turf, you've got two runners in there, Beautiful Love and Cinderella's Dream. Cinderella's Dream obviously produced one of the most extraordinary performances of the season at Meydan, and Will Buick lost his irons early on in the race. What about the trip for her?
Now, Will didn't lose his irons. He popped his feet out the irons. He just thought he'd just give the others a bit of a chance there. But that was obviously it was one of those strange races to watch. But thankfully, got the job done. She then shipped over here. She won the Belmont Belmont Oaks there, breaking a track record that day. Came out and won with ease there at Saratoga Oaks there. We'd obviously intended to go to Woodbine. I just don't know whether the horses were quite 100% down there, to be honest. Post-race, it was a long ship for them all, and she just got a touch of colic there when she was there. So, needless to say, she didn't run. And she went back to Keeneland there and has trained well. We toyed with whether to run her in the Queen Elizabeth there, but I just felt that I didn't want her to have a hard race coming into a championship race like this. She's a filly we know runs well fresh, so her preparation's gone well. The team have been up there, and I've been having the video sent to us, seen her just have a canter there this morning. She looks great and ready to go.
And Beautiful Love run a couple of times at Belmont at the Big A.
Yeah, I mean, Beautiful Love, she would have seen herself following Cinder's round in Dubai there and running creditably there. She's come over to America. She won the Grade 3 there at the Big A, as you say, and then again probably this market's been a bit unlucky on her second start there. But one thing she'll do, she'll see the trip out well. She's got experience over here, so she doesn't look out of place in her lineup and deserves to be there.
And then Notable Speech, who I think runs in one of the races of the whole meeting, up against Porta Fortuna, Ramatuelle, and some interesting Americans, the likes of Carl Spackler, etc. How do you see his chances in terms of how you want the race to pan out for him, where he is in the draw? How hard do you want them to go in this race?
It's one of those races. If they go hard, they're going to come back, and if they just do the whatever fractions they decide to do, and they want to turn it into a sprint, well, I think that sort of plays into his strength as well. So from it, he's one of those sort of comfortable horses, regardless of race, you know, the pace of the race. You'd be happy. Will knows him well enough where he's going to be sat. If he's sat a bit further back and sat in mid-div there, well, you probably think they're going hard enough. And from that drawn 6 there, you're happy with that. I didn't want to be any wider with him, ideally, around here. Hopefully that will, give Will all the options that he needs there. Like I say, if the pace is on, he can just drop there and ride a race. And if it's, if it's a pace that he feels, well, we need to be sat on the heels of him, hopefully from that draw that will allow him to be able to do that. But hey, look, he's an exciting horse. Look, it's our probably highest profile horse, 3-year-old that we've ever brought over here. A 2,000 guineas winner and a Sussex winner. So, but like I say, there's plenty of strength and depth in it this year. So it's be a great race to watch. I think
you said last week or so that how he travels is going to be key to his chances and how he settles in. What are the early signs?
I have to say, I've been delighted. Yeah, I mean, obviously we had that little. Sort of prep going to Longchamp was our first little test with him, and that was one thing that we walked away there pleased with. 2 really, but first we know he doesn't go on soft ground, but more importantly, like I say, on that trip itself, that he travelled well, and yeah, he's travelled very well and settled in well. And as soon as you put a saddle on his back, he's probably one of the most professional horses you'll see go around there. So no, all the signs are good so far.
We always reach for that last question with, who's your best chance? Who's the horse that you want to win the most of your team?
That's a hard one in respects to, you've got a Rebels Romance there, as you said. He's done so much for us. Of course you want it. Yeah, of course, exactly. You'd love to see him do it. But then you'll go back to, then you've got a notable speech there, a classic winner and as I say, a Sussex winner there that you want him to turn up and get the job done over here. And also, just from our own point of view, we've looking through the stats, I don't think anyone's won 4 on the bounce, so all these races. So we'll have a go at it, as they say.
Dubawi, William Buick, Charlie Appleby, it's all the signs are right for notable speech in the mile. Last thing, Charlie, sorry to put you on the spot, but what do you think about City of Troy on the dirt?
Look, but asking me about dirt racing is probably not, I'm the wrong person to ask, but statistically I don't do very well on it, but he's got the master looking after him. I just saw him walk past, obviously he looks great. Someone asked me, what do I think? I said, you're better off talking to the man who trains him, but I wish them all the best of luck, and it's going to be an intriguing race to watch, and yeah, full credit to Aidan and all the team there involved in bringing a horse like him over to have a cut at it.
As always, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck with your runners over the 2 days.
Brilliant. Thanks, Richie.
All right, mate. Thank you. Pleasure.
If only there was some device where you could record Charlie Appleby's comments instead of write them on pen and paper. That was impressive, whoever's doing the shorthand there. And then I love the fact that Matt Chapman had to wait in the background while we got 7 minutes with Charlie Appleby. Yeehaw. But he is very thorough and he's very upfront. I love the fact that he flat out admitted that he wants to accomplish 4 wins in a row in the FanDuel Mile. He knows what that means. It's unprecedented.
Every time he's entered the race, he's won it.
Incredible.
I mean, that's just remarkable in and of itself. Good luck to him. He's coming again with a full brigade of horses that you can make cases for all of them in his races.
And that's technically what we see from him, right? I mean, it's on trend for what Charlie Appleby brings to this country, to every country that he kind of invades, right? He brings these strings of A-class horses. He's not bringing B-class horses. He's bringing the best of the best. And I love watching back that race of notable speech. He looked so good there. He's going to be a force.
For someone who's so busy with so many Breeders' Cup horses, too, that was a very generous offering of his time to give thoughtful answers to every single question. I mean, just really top man for giving us that much of his time.
It also says something about Rishi Prasad. People say more to Rishi, and they take time out for Rishi more than they do other reporters. We are very fortunate. Joaquin Jaime, where are you?
Made my way over to the backside once again. I'm joined by trainer Kevin Attard. He has 2 horses in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf this year. We'll start with the full count Felicia, who's rattled off back-to-back stakes wins for you. You haven't had this horse very long. She's had a couple different trainers. First, what have you learned about her now that she's been in your care a little bit?
She's obviously a very good horse. She's, I think, was kind of a little bit discounted early in her first couple starts, and she followed her win in the EP Taylor with a strong performance. So, glad to have her in the barn, and she's training super coming into this race.
The horse that just walked right by us is your plate winner. That is Moira, 3rd consecutive appearance in the Breeders' Cup and is in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. What does your gut tell you about the 1 3/8 distance for Moira?
I like the distance. I've always wanted to kind of stretch her out a little further. She's going a mile and a quarter, won the Queen's Plate, won that pretty convincingly that day. So I think the added furlong is not going to be an issue.
I haven't done my replay work on all the races just yet. I didn't get a chance to see the EP Taylor, but is that running line right? Was she really 19 lengths back early on in that race?
Yeah, Full Count Felicia just kind of opened up on the field, and it was just kind of almost like 2 races in one, right? So, she was second best that day. You don't typically see races in North America anywhere really set up like they did that particular day, and it just kind of throws the race right off, I think. But, no discredit to Full Count Felicia. She ran really hard to kind of continue on. She set an honest pace, and Moyer tried her best to run them down, but it was just second best.
All the hard work is done. The majority of your training obviously was done up in Canada. What does their schedule look like from now until race day?
Yeah, just routine gallops heading in now. Like you said, all their works have been done at Woodbine, and happy with them both. They've worked really well heading into this race, and we're looking forward to good performances from them.
Appreciate the time, Kevin. Good luck in the Filly Mare Turf this year.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, when talking about these horses coming from all over the world, we sometimes forget Canada, frequent visitor to the Breeders' Cup. Moira has always had lots of talent, and on her day, absolutely will be a factor in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. Waiting for more horses on the backside, actually, because things have slowed up a little bit on the main track here, and we got a full complement of sunshine now. And yesterday, the post positions drawn for all 14 races, so everyone knows what they're up against. But out on the track right now, taking a look at one of the horses in the FanDuel
That's
mile.
Ramatuelle. Is who that is right there. And we were earlier talking about Porta Fortuna, and Ramatuelle has knocked heads with Porta Fortuna, but she was a really nice winner of the Prix de la Forêt last time out off of the break over at Longchamp, and the going was a little bit less firm than what you're going to get here today or this weekend. How about that? But overall, her form is pretty good. If she moves up a touch, right? She is just as good as Porta Fortuna, and could be a serious horse. I know a couple of good handicappers have been looking at her as like the alternative to Porta Fortuna.
She is a daughter of Justify. She's just 3 years old, and she's out of a Ravens Pass mare by the name of Ravens Lady. That victory that you mentioned in the Prix de la Forêt for her, she's 4 for 9 lifetime. And historically, we have seen 3-year-old fillies run very well in the Breeders' Cup Mile when they come from Europe. They definitely can stand up to taking on the American competition, taking on older competition. A big part of that is due in part to how competitive the races are overseas, and she's been top class, throughout her career. Second in the Prix Morny back last year as a 2-year-old behind Van Dijk, and she's kept up that good competition and those good results through this year.
Yeah, and with trainer Christopher Head, it runs in the family this race. After all, his dad, Freddie Head, trained the great Goldakova, who for a long time dominated this race at the Breeders' Cup.
I don't think he likes Mary's pony too much. He's trying to get this pony going. Oh.
Who's on our paddock? Is someone coming
I just turned around to look, but it doesn't look like a Breeders' Cup horse.
Okay, we got a couple of Japanese horses out on the track from just a little bit earlier.
American Bikini is one of those horses. She's on the right, so she's got the big plastic shields, right, that they use, and they use them more in Japan than anywhere else because they have a lot of sand-based racetracks, but she is equipped with those. And she looks fantastic out here. Look at the good energy she's showing. I mean, her rider's got a serious hold on her, but she's still galloping out with a really good stride.
Don Frankie on the left, the distinction of being the heaviest horse to compete in Japan at over 1,300 pounds.
Really?
He is an absolute tank, and you can see they're together out there on track. So as they come together, we had some ISO cams on them for the last couple seconds, but he is all muscle, big boy out there, but he moves over the ground pretty well.
You can see it on his chest, how broad he is. How much does he weigh? 1,310 pounds? Holy cannoli, what a unit.
Don Frankie, American Bikini, and a lot of talk about American Bikini being a very serious contender in the NetJets Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. And that will be part of Future Stars Friday with all the 2-year-olds and championship honors on the line in various divisions. Certainly the crowd started to pick up here at the track as well, as the sun has come out, and more coming out to watch the preparations here. And the charity aspect of the Breeders' Cup should never be overlooked, and you can help participate with the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. You can donate, and you can do that very simply by texting BC, so that's Breeders' Cup, BC 4TAA, to the number 56651. And very important, all donations are tax deductible. And what happens to our great thoroughbreds when their racing career is done? The Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance does great work, and they need your support. We'll be back with more Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
Your memory is an amazing thing, but sometimes it can start to slow down. But did you know Prevagen can help keep your memory sharp? The secret is the powerful ingredient apoaquarin, originally discovered in jellyfish and found only in Prevagen. In a clinical study, Prevagen was shown to improve memory in subgroups of individuals who are cognitively normal or mildly impaired. Stay sharp and improve your memory with Prevagen. Prevagen, in stores everywhere without a prescription.
Researchers have identified 34,000 unique human feelings. But which feeling feels best? That would have to be winning. A chance of winning's what you get every day on FanDuel Casino's reward machine with a $2,000 top prize. Yes, winning is number one. It ranks higher than number 30, saying, I told you so.
Told you so.
Number 89, the feeling of catching your car keys with one hand. And number 78, thinking it's Friday when it's really Saturday. Those are pretty good, but not as good as new players getting up to $1,000 back in casino bonus and 350 bonus spins for the number one feeling, winning, which beats number 58, not jogging, and even beats number 18, the feeling of saving a kid from a well, 59 years later. The feeling of winning can't be beat. Feel it for yourself on the number one rated casino app, FanDuel Casino.
At Calumet Farm, we're proud to offer proven stallions to fit every breeder's needs. With over 72 million in progeny winnings on dirt and turf, our diverse roster is producing the champions of today and tomorrow. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
We've got plenty of Breeders' Cup contenders waiting to go on the track.
We're so fortunate to see so many of these horses in the Breeders' Cup.
One of the morning line favorites going into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, Jonathan's Way. His trainer, Phil Bauer, standing by. Jonathan's Way hit the track for the first time this morning. What'd you think, Phil?
Really pleased. You know, he came off the truck yesterday after the flight out here with good energy, and he showed it out there this morning. So behaved himself and was pretty routine gallop, so pretty pleased where we're at.
I watched his last work at Churchill. He's quite keen and aggressive going to the pole.
Yeah, it was our intentions to leave there with, and you know, with good intention. You know, I think we're going to try and show some speed out here, so I wanted to display that in the breeze. But my favorite part of the breeze was after the wire. You know, when the rider cued to him, it was time to go. He just left his company. So that's what he's shown us all along, that he's that type of horse. When you need him, he's there, and he's shown it in his 2 races. So hopefully he'll do it in his 3rd.
How would you describe him on the track? Is he a forward, energetic horse typically? You know,
he's to me, he's a very smart horse, and at times he'll fool you how laid back he is, but he likes to take everything in, and he's, to me, a pretty kind horse to gallop, but certainly I think he's feeling the race, so at times he'll grab that bit when he's around others, but couldn't be happier where we're at and how he's coming into it.
He won the Iroquois so impressively. What was your favorite part about that race?
You know, he surprised me jumping out of there and going to the lead, but I think in hindsight, I'm glad he did it. Showed his versatility, and I think a demanding one-turn mile race like that, put us that much further ahead. So 2 turns, I think you'll be able to handle it, and look really pleased with our draw, and excited to be out here.
Phil, I'm excited you're out here too. Love it when my Kentucky people come to California. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Back to you guys.
And Jonathan's Way, while having a big win in Kentucky, debuted at Saratoga. I happened to be there in that debut. It was remarkable. He had several runs during that race. He looked like something special. And amazingly, as a son of Vacoma, he's an Ohio bred. But he's not racing on an Ohio Champions Day. He's racing on our championship day, the Breeders' Cup. Let's find out more about Jonathan's Way.
Sometimes I pinch myself and wonder what I did to be in the situation I'm in. It's literally a dream come true. It's our 3rd start in the Breeders' Cup 3 years in a row. We think it's our best chance. He had that type of ability in our opinion, and he acts like one that are hard to come by.
We kind of felt very highly of him, and it was the first time that we felt like we had a colt that could take us to the promised land.
Richard and Tammy, they gave me just the greatest opportunity and chance, a private training position, and stuck with me and believed in me from day one. They changed people's lives, and they offered Ashley, my wife, and I literally a trip of a lifetime. Go on a scuba diving adventure with them in the Great Barrier Reef off the Lizard Island coast in Australia.
Good evening. A group of tourists is lucky to be alive tonight after a joy flight turned to a nightmare over the Great Barrier Reef.
We had a great vacation. We were heading home to the mainland to fly back to the United States when the plane encountered some engine trouble. Luckily, we were, only in the air 5 or so minutes, so the pilot was able to turn around and approach the runway to land. We were just coming in too fast. You could see the white strips at the end of the runway when we were going over top of it, and you knew that we were going to crash. They yelled out to hold on and brace for impact. We plowed through some sand and then caught some traction with the nose and began to flip. I remember more of the sounds. Pretty sure I had my eyes closed. You think definitely that you're not ready to go. You think about your kids and your family. Once things came to a stop, you realized that you were still alive and got to work to get out of there. I think shock sets in and your body just goes into survival mode. I was in the back of the plane and was able to open the rear entrance and start helping people out. I think Richard took it the worst of it. A bush had come through the window and cut up his head and his hands pretty bad.
There were 10 people inside this Cessna light plane. It's incredible they walked away from this.
I think once everybody was out, you realized how fortunate you were, and don't sweat the small stuff anymore, and just realize how precious life is and how lucky and fortunate we are.
Remarkable story about the connections of Jonathan's Way. Just being here, obviously, is a victory, and then to put it over the top with a win on Breeders' Cup Day would be remarkable. But, yeah, that would change anyone's perspective.
Yeah, that's the first time I've seen that story. It's emotional. It's hard to watch. And thanks to Phil Bauer for being willing to talk about it, because I'm sure even bringing it up is difficult as a parent. You have things like that going through your mind. It's terrifying.
Oof, so the footage right there.
Yeah.
I've actually spoken with them on my podcast, but to see the footage.
Jonathan's Way, a part of the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Juvenile on Future Stars Friday. We have stars out on the racetrack here at Del Mar, and let's find out more with Joaquin Jaime.
Post time is having a rule.
Hey guys, we not only made our way to the starting gate, we are in the starting gate for a couple schoolers right here. It is going to be from trainer Jose D'Angelo. He already had Ben Tornado schooling in the starting gate, and this is going to be his turf sprinter. This is Howard Wolowitz, who's going to have a schooling session right now. He's coming off a Grade 1 victory over at Kentucky Downs. You can see Jose D'Angelo there in the blue jacket, just behind the horse right now, talking to head starter Jay Slender there in that teal cap, just giving some instructions, I'm assuming. I'm going to jump down right now, see if I can go ahead and have a conversation with Jose over here. Jose, you got a sec? All right, so Ben Tornado already schooled. Howard Wolowitz schooling right now. What is the process here, and what do you want to see from this horse?
you know, both horses are sprinter and they are sprinter races. I think it's very important, you know, like when you run short distance, you need to brakes good. You know, if you have to be like the gate part of normally to them to have them calm and have the best brake as they can.
So one horse has started 4 times for you, another horse has started 8 times. You do this every single time they run, before every single time they run?
Every single time I did with them. Also, with Ben Tornado, we have to work more because when he breaks in Saudi, was without help.
Right.
So we have to teach them to stay by themselves and break by themselves.
So what did they pass the test for you? Are you happy with how both your horses gate schooled?
I'm very happy. Probably bring them one more time, and I'm very sure that we're going to be ready for Saturday.
All right, thanks, Jose. Appreciate the time. Good luck this year.
Thank you.
Let's turn our attention to the John Deere Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, part of Future Stars Friday. And in here, and Shada coming over after having raced at Doncaster last time out.
Yeah, kind of a tinier filly. She is just 2 years old, and the rider also pretty tall out there. Taking a look at her in this gallop, she does have the hood on, carrying her head a little bit high. You can see him leaning a little bit on that inside rein just to try and keep her down towards the rail, you know, keeping a straight path. Looks a little bit green, but again, she's young. These are new surroundings for her. I think she's going to move up a lot over fast ground. She's very tenacious, even in defeat. I like a few of her races, most notably that Group 3 event in the Fillies where Billy Loughnane was aboard. Opens up her stride a little bit here, but yeah, not a whole lot to her, but she...
So it's worth noting that she hasn't run around the left-hand turn that I can see, and she was on her wrong lead, which is one of the reasons why he was pulling her down, because she was on that right lead on the turn. And then when she came off the turn and she came down the lane, which is normally when you're on your right lead, she swapped with good timing, but back to her left lead. And so it's just kind of putting her, like Christina had mentioned earlier, off balance. And you can see right here, he's kind of trying to keep her down and then gear her down at this point. But she did do all of her running there backwards.
And Shada will be representing Gary Barber and Team Valor International in the John Deere Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, race number 8 on the Friday card. 5 championship races on Friday and 9 championship races on Saturday. But again, they are the heart of cards overall. There will be 12 races on Saturday as an example of that. So all of this action you'll be able to play through FanDuel Racing. Let's check in with Andy Biancone.
Okay, on tape. Ready? Post time trained this morning under Emma Wolf, and this is something he does on a daily basis here at Del Mar. He just goes for a little roll after Emma takes the tack off, and this is actually something that's really beneficial for horses. A lot of trainers will have round pens set up outside their barn at other tracks just to turn horses out and let them roll. It's a natural chiropractic. It helps their back readjust, and it's just a feel-good thing for them overall. It's just, oh, you see Post Time getting a little happy after his roll, but I think he's done now. He's going to itch his face on Emma, but totally a therapeutic, natural chiropractic thing that is so beneficial for our horses.
Well, and every backside's different. Can horses do that at just anywhere, or is there a spot at most racetracks, or?
So it's kind of really based on the trainer, right? If you have the room or not to put something like that in. Andy mentioned pens. Now, we're not allowed to have pens in Southern California. Okay. So the year, if you remember, Arcangelo did get a pen put up, but he got it specially put up. They had to like completely line the bottom because our sand is very close to the water tables where Santa Anita is located. So because of that, they don't want any like seepage into our aqua filters or whatever. So part of that is the reason why. But we are allowed to have sand pits. So down at Del Mar, they're really great. As soon as you move in, they'll bring you sand. We always have a sand pit that, we share with a couple of the barns around us. At Santa Anita, we have a sand pit as well, but it's not the same as like when you're in Keeneland and you get those pens that you can turn them loose in the sand. You're always attached to a person out here.
You could see at that place where he was rolling the lighter sand, that's been brought in and added on top so that there is some sort of fluffier,
it
nice
didn't
sand
even
to
look
roll
like
in.
it was a huge pile there. It was almost like what they brought for the walking ring. This is what they do, Todd. So because they use this for other things, right?
Yes,
when you come out,
it is
it's
a
just like
fairgrounds.
it's just dirt, okay? So you're like, bring in the sand for my walking ring, which is where everyone walks because you want sand there, and they just dump it, and then you got to call all your guys and be like, I'll have a taco day. You guys got to rake all the sand around, and the guys got to move all the sand around.
Post time, feeling good going into the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. We've been talking about the horses arriving here at the track. Some of the trainers are here as well. One of them is Brad Cox with Andy Biancone.
Yes, Todd, the human stars have started to pour in, but Brad Cox, no stranger to the Breeders' Cup. Brad, the last time the Breeders' Cup was at Del Mar, you did win the Classic with Nick's Go. What do you think is the most important thing to have success in the Breeders' Cup Classic?
Well, I guess it just depends on who's hosting it, but that year, speed. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, you want to break before it here. It's not a long stretch, and we'll see how things go.
So speed, you would say, here at Del Mar is very important.
I think so. I mean, probably a better question for Bob. He's got a lot more experience here. But, yeah, I mean, we've shipped in a few times and had some luck. She Dares the Devil won the Clementel Hirsch here a few years ago. But, yeah, I think Fordley Place is, place to be.
Of your string you've sent here, who has settled into Del Mar the best?
Well, no one's not settled in, so I'd say they've all, handled the ship very well. We just got here, obviously, yesterday, and they all trained this morning. Happy with everything we saw. But, look, they're all of them are pretty easy keepers. They're all pretty classy to deal with. We'll school them between now and race day, and hopefully it all goes well.
Saudi Crown has been one of my personal favorites. It's been really fun to watch him develop. Coming into the Dirt Mile, how do you feel like he is at this point in the year?
Well, I would like to have had a race between the Ellis Park, Cowboy Jones, and this. But, look, it is what it is. His breeze this past weekend was very, very good. So I feel like we're in a great spot with him. He came out of it in good shape, and he did draw the one hole. We'll ask Florent to be aggressive with him and put him in the game. And, I know there's some other speed in there. But, once again, I think it goes back to wanting to be forwardly placed here over this racetrack.
You'll have Highland Falls in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I saw your assistant trainer, Katie Tolbert, giving him a jog before heading to the track this morning, and he was up on hind legs. Is that just normal behavior for him?
Yeah, it can be. I think, just a different place, feeling good. We shipped them yesterday. They didn't get to train, so they're feeling fresh. But, happy with the way he's moving for sure.
It's that cool ocean breeze. Brad, thank you so much.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Back to you guys.
You sometimes just take it for granted with trainers like Brad Cox. You assume we're going to see them at the Breeders' Cup with big numbers. But if you look at the first half of his year, it didn't necessarily go according to that plan. He picked up a lot of momentum in the second half of the year to get as many horses here as he did.
He did. He had a very big Keeneland and a lot of those finishing touches on his horses coming together at the right time in their prep races.
I think some of that is also to the quality of horses that you're getting now. I mean, once you get through like the Derby Trail, and then it's really about development, right? Like we took a look at Highland Falls earlier. He's a 4-year-old. He's pretty lightly raced for being 4, and Brad's kind of taking his time with him. I mean, you see that, and when you get the better quality horse and you have this long goal in mind, you're less likely at the beginning of the year to be jamming on them to get them these wins when your end goal is the end of the year.
Yeah, and I love seeing these trainers get together, and then the admiration where we get a chance to ask them a question. That was another thing from the Charlie Appleby interview when you had Rishi asking him about the Aidan O'Brien horses, and he referred to Aidan O'Brien as the master and how great he is. I love to listen to trainers talk about other trainers and riders talk about other riders, and you can only do that here at the Breeders' Cup. You get them all together.
I think the mark of any really good trainer is a trainer that is willing to keep learning and willing to keep, letting horses teach you something every single day. And when you have the opportunity to see this many good horses and this many good horsemen, they're all going to absorb something from this week and maybe take that forward for them.
Well, like we were talking earlier about how they are adapting by changing up, bringing in a U.S. rider or being more, forwardly placed in a race because that's the way the track plays. I mean, the European trainers especially have really come over here and adapted. I feel like when we go out to Europe, we just kind of stick with what our horses do instead of trying to change a lot of things. And over here, they're really trying to adapt when they come here to give their horses a good chance.
Let's stay with the Brad Cox barn and talk about Highland Falls, winner of the Jockey Club Gold Cup last time out. And the key to success is someone who's with this horse every day. Falls. What an accomplishment for Flavien Prat as he wins another one.
Yo vi por la televisión la carrera y sí, muy emocionante cuando él ganó. Es muy divertido trabajar con él porque es un caballo muy noble y no da qué hacer. Es muy divertido trabajar con él. Eso es muy emocionante y pues ahí seguimos día con día trabajando duro con él para que él esté bien para su carrera. Me siento bien feliz y contento todas las mañanas desde que empiezo a trabajar con ellos. Yo me siento bien a gusto trabajando, haciendo lo que hago, pues me gusta mucho. Tenía recuerdo como 8 años y empezamos a amasar los caballos, a galopar los caballos, como dice aquí, a quebrar los caballos. Soy de Guatemala y vine a trabajar aquí, pues empecé en la Florida a trabajar en lo que es los caballos y me gusta mucho el trabajo que hago. Vine hace 20 años, vine yo en el 2004. He trabajado con diferentes trainers, con él tengo 2 años. Entonces, todas las mañanas me levanto con ganas de trabajar y gracias a Dios me da yo bien desde que trabajo aquí en los caballos. Y le damos gracias también a Brad Cox por darnos la oportunidad también de permitirnos ser parte del equipo. Son muy buenas personas ellos y es gente muy profesional en lo que hacen. El año pasado también cuidaba el Saudi Cron, el que ganó el Pennsylvania Derby el año pasado. El caballo es muy serio, muy profesional en lo que él hace. Una rutina más que todo y ser uno responsable. Yo vengo a las 4 de la mañana y empiezo a trabajar, a limpiar todo lo que es los establos. Ya para cuando ellos van a la pista, pues ya todo limpio ya para empezar a trabajar con ellos. Me gusta todo lo que hago, lo que es estar asociado con los caballos. Me gusta mucho el trabajo y por eso es de que sigo.
Our thanks to the Thoroughbred Daily News for that feature of a Breeders' Cup connection. And I love when the grooms of all the horses gather near the rail and you watch them down the stretch. Some of the best moments at the Breeders' Cup are capturing them, cheering their horses on.
Yeah, watching them cheer their horses on. One of my favorite things is to go back to the barn area, any racetrack, and ask a groom who their favorite horse was. You never know who you've met that might be here with a horse this year and groomed a champion from 20 years ago, or there was a 5-claimer that was especially close to them. I mean, just the stories that you get from the grooms are really remarkable.
I like it even now when they're talking about who their favorite horse is in the barn, because it does vary, but they have a real pride when they have a horse in the barn that is especially good, and they just have that connection with them.
I had a chance to go to Bill Mott's barn this summer with Lee Einsiedler, and Irma Scott is a constant presence there. She's been with Bill Mott for 40 years, helped raise his sons, and so Lee asked where a particular horse was, and she said, "Oh, he's over here. I love that horse." And then she stopped and she goes, "I love them all, actually." And that really describes grooms and everyone associated with every barn on the backside. We love them all, and we get to see some of the best at the Breeders' Cup. What a true treat it is. But we are going to get back out onto the racetrack in just a little moment. Joaquin is already there for us.
Here, trainer Jorge Abreu, he has Scottish Lassie coming into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, a filly that's coming off a Grade 1 victory in the Frizette Stakes. Earlier today, she went out for a gallop. What'd you see out there from her here at Del Mar?
She looked like she liked the track today. She went over the track pretty smooth. She came back in good shape, so she galloped very nice.
Take me back to her most recent start, her Grade 1 victory that she wins in the Frizette. She wins by 6. That was your very first Grade 1 victory. What was that moment like that afternoon?
I have no words to explain it. I was so delighted with it. Just finishing second and third in the previous races that I ran, Greatest Stake. Finished second last year in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile with Jody's Pride. And having a Grade 1 winning with a horse that I bore was magnificent.
Did she catch you off guard with the improvement that she had from one start to the next, where she loses by 6 and then she's able to win by 9?
Well, in the first start, it's hard for a 2-year-old to come off the 7-8 going 7-8 from the 1 hole. And Ira told me, this filly didn't break as sharp as I want her to break, and we didn't have the best trip, but this filly's okay. And I saw, I told the owners, the rest of the owners, I said, let's cross the line, but I'm going to go to the Frizette right after the race. I didn't wait, I didn't hesitate, because she came out of there in such a good shape, and she was training that well.
If she breaks good in the
Scottish Lassie and the Frizette Stakes last time out, part of Future Stars Friday. And you will see the top 2-year-olds in various divisions on Friday here with 5 championship races at Del Mar. And that will officially kick off 2 days of championship racing. And we do have some older horses out on the track right now. As a matter of fact, we have a horse for the Dirt Mile out on the main track here at Del Mar. Breeze has picked up a little bit. More to come on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. It's Tuesday morning with the Breeders' Cup looming just a few days away. We'll be back right after this.
Attitude.
Any NBA play can inspire your next hunch. And with 3 months of NBA League Pass from FanDuel, you're about to get a whole lot more inspiration. So if you think they're going to rock the rim right out of the gates, hello, or you want to RSVP to the block party,
there he is. Yes, sir.
Or you think it's going to start raining threes.
Let's go!
FanDuel has more ways to bet on players so you can make your hunches happen. Right now, new customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Plus, all customers get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Hey, so I found a betting system that's really working great for me.
So did I. What's yours?
I set up an hour-a-week time limit on FanDuel. I can also set up wager limits, so I only bet what I can afford, and betting stays fun.
Right.
So what's your system?
What's that?
Your system. What's your system? What is that?
Every bettor has a system. Make FanDuel's responsible gaming tools a key part of yours.
For centuries, the bond between horse and human has been forged in trust and hands-on care. Thoroughbred racing is combining that tradition with cutting-edge technology to raise our standards even higher. New investments in wearable biometrics, advanced imaging, and AI help optimize our safety programs.
That opening quarter mile was a quick one.
Every day, a commitment to improving their care. So win or lose, it's safety that runs first. To learn more, visit safetyrunsfirst.com.
FanDuel's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Phasic Tipton.
Looking ahead to the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff, the big news about a week ago, Idiomatic would not be back to defend her title. It has certainly made Torpedo Anna one of the most likely winners of all the championship races. Torpedo Anna being installed as a 4-5 morning line favorite. A horse who ran against Idiomatic last time out when Idiomatic won the Spinster was Honor D Lady, but she didn't show up that day. She finished next to last. Can we expect improvement from Honor D Lady this time around?
Well, I think we can expect improvement. She does have better races on her form. Her win in the Delaware Cup by 5.5 lengths. You go back to the Royal Delta, where she was a couple lengths across the wire. But in those races, the horses that she's facing, Saddle Up Jessie, Soul of an Angel, Mary Quite Contrary, these aren't the toughest horses in the division. It's not the Raging Seas. It's not, the Idiomatics, the Torpedo Annas. So I do think she needs to improve quite a bit if she wants to win the race on Saturday. But she should move forward off the last race.
Well, on paper, the 2 times she's run against Grade 1 Company have been those 18-length defeats. So while she can move forward, and I'm sure she's going to be happy that Idiomatic isn't in here because that was a big portion of the 18 lengths she was defeated last time was her 7-length win victory. I'm just not entirely sure that she's, quite frankly, Grade 1 caliber.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. The connection's really taken a huge shot here, and that is Honor D Lady getting ready for the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff as Joaquin Jaime brings us more.
I'm joined by jockey Rusey Sakai. He is the regular jockey aboard Forever Young, who will be in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. You were aboard for his workout this morning here at Del Mar. What was the plan going into the workout, and how did Forever Young feel this morning?
今朝フォーエバーヤングに調教をつけられてたと思うんですけれども、どういうプランで調教に臨もうと思いましたか。またその調教後にこう乗った感触はいかがでしたか。
リードホースを前に置いて、で直線ではしっかり反応させるようにイメージ通りのいい追い切りで馬もすごくハッピーでした。
Yes, the horse was very happy because we had a lead horse in front of the Forever Young, and we asked him to go into the stretch, but his reaction was what I have expected. So I am very happy with his performance today.
He's making his second start off a very long layoff of about 5 months or so. How much fitter of a racehorse does he feel versus his last race in Japan?
前走までちょっと時間が空いてたと思うんですけれども、前走の状態とそれからそこからのこちらへの状態っていうのはいかがですか？
ケンタッキーダービーが非常に激しいレースで疲れもありましたから、ゆっくり休んでもらって、で前回も休み明けっていう感じはありましたけど、いい内容でしたし、使ってしっかり良くなってると思います。
Yes, his condition is getting very improving right now. Last race, that was his first race up from the long break, but so it was kind of like first condition. I mean, from the long break, but now his condition is getting improved. So I'm very happy.
You drew post position #1 in the Breeders' Cup Classic. What does that do for his preparation and how he's going to prepare for this race, drawing the inside rail?
内枠を今回引かれましたけれども、それについていかが思いますかということと、何か作戦はありますか？
外枠の方がレースはしやすいなと思ってましたし、非常に残念な枠だったんですけど、あとはこの馬の力を信じて勝てるようにしっかりレース考えていきたいなと思ってます。
Of course, we would like to take the outside draw, but it's a lack of draw. So, but we can consider the race tactics, from with the other connections, and we will bring our best to bring his best performance.
You ride in races all over the world, but for you, what is the experience like to come to America and ride in the top level races here in America?
酒井さん、本当に世界中で競馬に乗られてますけれども、アメリカのレースに乗られるということと、ご本人の期待っていうのはどれぐらいの方がありますか？
そうですね、アメリカのレースは、日本と同じようにスピード競馬ですし、そこでの経験は本当日本でも役立ちますし、ただ今回は本当にこういった素晴らしい舞台でこれだけチャンスのある馬に乗れるということで、もちろん勝ちたいと思っています。
In American races, they have a very fast speed, but I think it's going to be work. The experience is going to be work after he go back to Japan. And he said, I am very honored to give such a great opportunity to ride in the top class level in the world.
Well, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck in the Breeders' Cup Classic this year.
頑張ってください。応援してます。ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, you talked about it, Michelle. If you go over to Japan, you realize that horse racing is a huge sport there. It is the equal of baseball. It's the equal of any other sport over there, whereas we're always trying to find our position here in the United States. And you can see that in the comments there, as well as something that Drew Fleming, president and CEO of the Breeders' Cup, told me yesterday. Last year, they had 4 races where Japan could bet on the Breeders' Cup. $20 million is what they bet in Japan over those races. So huge audience watching what's going to happen here with all the Japanese runners.
I mean, we've seen the Japanese when they've gone to the Arc de Triomphe, right? And we've seen the fan base that they bring with them to these events. And they are just so enthusiastic about their horses. And they have so much pride for the Japanese contingents when they go anywhere. I think it's really sensational. And obviously, it's great from a wagering standpoint because the Japanese money does really boost handle. We saw that in California Crown Day as well. But just to have them here and have fans coming in and getting to watch all of this, I mean, this is a great way for the Japanese that are at home that love this racing and follow it to be able to watch on this show, on social media. There's so much coverage. They get to feel like they're here and supporting it all.
Christina, Michael Joyce almost caused an international incident by buying the jacket of Forever Young's trainer yesterday.
I want to know what it looks like.
It's flashy. It's a great jacket. And he's got it, and the social media reaction was wonderful. But I think it's also important to note that this relationship between the Breeders' Cup and Japan Racing was a long time in coming. I was listening to Kate Hunter on Steve Bick's show, and she said, look, the recruitment of Japanese horses goes back a long time, but they weren't ready yet. They were watching, they were taking it in, they were adjusting a little bit their own breeding and breeding to race horses that could be competitive on the dirt, a very competitive dirt circuit throughout the year. And as the Japanese felt ready to come and take those international steps, that's when you started to see the horses coming over. And now it's routine. It's regular. It's on the calendar because of this long-standing relationship that a Breeders' Cup started a very long time ago.
There's a great national pride for Japanese sports everywhere, especially when their athletes leave the country. Great example of that is going on right now in the World Series here in America, averaging about 13 million viewers. In Japan, 15 million are tuning in the World Series to see their heroes like Yamamoto and Owatani on the Dodgers. And that is a country that has a fraction of our population, and yet they have more people watching the World Series than what we have here in the United States. So it is certainly going to be a boon to the ratings for the Breeders' Cup. And as we talked about, going to be a lot of money bet around the world on the Breeders' Cup World Thoroughbred Championships. And don't forget about this wagering menu that has been put together for the first championship day this Friday, November 1st. 10 races in all, and it will be the 5 Breeders' Cup Championship races that will anchor the back half of the card on Friday. First post time at 11:35 a.m. Pacific time. Then on Saturday, we've got 12 races for you, with the first race going off at 10:05 here on the West Coast. Don't forget the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, unique spot there in race number 8. But you can take advantage of so many great wagering opportunities in the biggest race of the 2 days. And with FanDuel, it is the place where you can watch all those races with the exception of the Classic, but you can wager on all of them through your FanDuel racing account. And once you have signed up, we've got you covered with WinBet Insurance. So many ways to play the Breeders' Cup. FanDuel is the best way. Don't forget about the no sweat win bet being offered for both the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, which is the highlight to Future Stars Friday, and then, of course, the $7 million Longines Breeders' Cup Classic on Saturday. And then we have another no sweat win bet for $20, and all the details available at FanDuel Racing. That applies to the Breeders' Cup Classic. Skies clearing and another gorgeous day at Del Mar. Getting ready for 2 championship days of racing. We'll be back with more of the morning preparations on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup right after this.
There's never been a better time to download the FanDuel Racing app. Sign up is quick and easy, so come join the fun. Personalize your very own race page with new and exciting handicapping tools and insights. And watch your favorite races live from over 300 tracks worldwide, including FanDuel TV right on your phone. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $500. If your first bet doesn't win, don't sweat it. Get up to $500 back as a racing bonus. Download the FanDuel Racing app now.
Hi, I'm Greg. I live in Bloomington, Illinois. I'm not an actor. I'm just a regular person. Some people say, why should I take Prevagen? I don't have a problem with my memory. Memory loss is not something that occurs overnight. I started noticing subtle lapses in memory. I want people to know that Prevagen has worked for me. It's helped my memory. It's helped my cognitive qualities. Give it a try. I want it to help you just like it has helped me.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription.
You're seeing him on a skyrocket to success. He's really stamping his progeny, getting big, scopy, really good moving horses.
He moves your mares up so much. I think that reflects back in his versatility.
They do everything. They've got enough speed, and then they'll go 2 turns. They can sprint, they can route, they can run on the turf.
I think he excels at a mile on the dirt and beyond.
It's all culminated into when they show up here, we all want them.
When you're at the barn and you walk out of the office, you see a shed row full of Constitutions, it's always a good thing.
This is a Kentucky Thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built Powerfoil industrial fan. Like a Thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one also runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, our best-selling Big Fan hands down. BigFans.com. Comfort without compromise.
Another person who's no stranger to the Breeders' Cup, assistant trainer for Todd Pletcher, Amelia Green. Amelia, word on the street, you're going out on your own as a trainer after this Breeders' Cup. So this is technically your farewell tour from Team TAP?
This is it, yeah. Saturday, Breeders' Cup. That'll be my last day. Well, Sunday morning I'll come in, but technically I'm going to say Saturday Breeders' Cup is my last day working for Todd and the team.
You've been an integral part of this operation, and the last 7 years you've been working for Todd. What are some highlights when you reflect?
It's been a great 7 years. I've been very lucky to be around some very talented horses. Obviously, the last time we were here was when Life is Good won the Dirt Mile, so that was a special memory. So it's nice to be back here and this be the final tour, you'd say, of the Todd Pletcher Bond.
What are some favorite things about Life is Good?
I think it'd be stupid not to say his talent and his ability and his presence and his power, like everything about him, his personality. He was a very cool horse to be around. I was very lucky to be so close to him.
Does it feel a bit nostalgic to be back at Del Mar?
It does a little bit, yeah, because this is where when I first moved over from England, I was here for 5 years before going to Todd. So it's kind of like everything's sewn in together between my California time and working for Todd. Like, feels like right that this is the last Breeders' Cup I'll be at with Todd's Barn. Hopefully not last ever, just last with Todd's Barn.
A full circle moment for sure. And you've been getting on Candied, who we should expect to see in the distaff?
Yeah, she shipped in yesterday, first day to the track today. She's been training very well in Keeneland. She ran a good race over there, and hopeful she runs great here too.
Now, when you go out on your own, where are you going to be stabled, and what would be the best way to contact you if we were trying to send you horses?
I'll be at Belmont racing at Aqueduct all winter, and hopefully Belmont, obviously when Belmont's up and running again. Oh, hi Candide. I have all the socials, reach me that way, or I also have a website, ameliagreenracing.com, so feel free to reach me that way, and yeah, send on some horses.
Now, obviously, one last question, and I'll get out of your hair. You've set some pretty serious goals working for Todd Pletcher. Do you have any goals for yourself?
To be female Todd Pletcher. That would be a very dream life to live, I think. But don't let him hear me say that.
Hush, hush. Well, you are certainly a bright star. We're looking forward to seeing you at Belmont this winter.
Thank you very much.
Back to you guys.
In other sports, they talk a lot about a coaching tree, a coach that has such influence that when their assistants go out, they become great head coaches in their own right. The same is true in horse racing. I think of Dwayne Lucas being here at the age of 89. He's got Seize the Gray and the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, but all the careers that he launched, including one of the biggest, Todd Pletcher. So now to see Amelia Green, part of that Dwayne Lucas tree.
Well, and Todd's tree has already started as well. You look at Michael McCarthy, who worked for Todd Pletcher for a long time. Jonathan Thomas, who worked for Todd Pletcher for a long time. Amelia, the next one to go out on her own. And there's no shortage of people who want to work for Todd Pletcher. If you're in Todd Pletcher's barn for 7 years, you are a top quality horsewoman, and she's absolutely that.
No, there's a lot of assistant trainers that just stay with the trainer for so long, but Todd is one of those guys that the assistants feel confident enough, and they get support from the clients enough to be able to go out on their own, because that's a whole other thing, right, is being able to have the clients to support that. So great for her, and I do wonder A, if she will have white bridles or not, because that's the thing, right? And B, if she does, if Mike McCarthy is going to send her a tub of detergent for those or not.
Well, you and Mike McCarthy have a special relationship. Maybe you can find out that answer. Joaquin?
Hey, Todd, I found the place that trainer Yoshiro Hagi needs to come, and that is going to be the merchandise tent. That's because he's down a jacket, right? So they just opened the merchandise tent up over here. You can see some people already taking a stroll around and looking at everything that is in here. Just come take a stroll with me, and we'll just kind of see what the racing fans are going to have to peruse over here at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. You can see you just got a couple mugs and stuff right here. You have coffee cups over here. This is always something that's good for me. I always tend to go over here, Todd, and take a look and see what kind of Breeders' Cup hats they have for 2024. These are always good for golfing. This one's definitely got my name on it right here. A little blue and white. Always like the button up in the back right there. Not a big bill right there. You can put a good fold on that one. That's definitely something I'm going to be coming back for. If you want some memorabilia glasses, always can keep those in there. That's always good. I'm always a sucker for getting any type of mugs, too. I have mugs from pretty much every major race that we cover, so I'm definitely going to be coming back here. Michelle and Christina, here's a lot of the female stuff with a lot of the girls' jackets and vests. You can see that they have the logos on them right here. Breeders' Cup is on them right there. They have tons of golf polos over here and everything that we can take a look at. They have some long sleeve half zips right here with nice light blue one right there. And actually, Charlie, let's go on to the front side. Guys, we'll make our way over here. You can see there's still plenty of things getting set up over here for all these racing fans as the Breeders' Cup's just a couple days away. One thing that's going to be unique to the place that we're walking over here, this is going to be the Lululemon spot for the Breeders' Cup. All the merchandise is Lululemon, but they're embroidered with the Breeders' Cup logos. So you have all the female workout gear on this particular side right here. You can see the girls' tank tops right here, the girls' leggings, but you can see how they have the Breeders' Cup logos and the embroidery on them. And the guys' stuff, I believe, is on this side over here, right, Charlie? Yeah, we'll take a walk over here. Yeah, here's the guys' stuff. And you can see their sweatshirts, polo shirts, everything over here. And I think, Todd, I found my fit right here.
Yeah, I knew it.
Navy Lululemon pants right here. You can see the old school Breeders' Cup logo right there. And then look at this quarter zip right here. Look at this quarter zip right there. Michelle, Christina, is that good right there? Did I put a good outfit together?
Buy it
that
today.
Matches and everything, right? I'm good
today.
to go here?
It will be gone in the next couple of days.
Can you go back inside and get me a couple of things? I liked the navy vest, if you don't mind.
What do you want? Point me to it. What do you want? I got you. The navy vest.
Go back
there's
inside.
The good thing, there's only about four navy vests over here. Nothing from the Lulu store for you, Michelle?
No,
nothing here?
The Lulu stuff
inside.
is a little short for me. I like my shirts
I have to say,
longer.
I like the pants he was looking at. They're called ABC pants. You can look up what that means. They are very, very comfortable. I like to wear them when we fly a lot to go to
Todd, I have plenty of ABC pants. I know exactly what you're talking about.
See, I have the Align leggings.
And for, I know Dave Weaver's watching at home. Dave, when we talk about workout gear, this is for exercise. Exercise is something you do when you get off your couch. There you go.
Yes. That's it. That's what I want, Joaquin.
Michelle, is this you?
That's me.
Okay.
Bring it home.
All right.
Have they set up the jewelry yet, Joaquin?
Yes.
It'll be my gift to you and Christina.
Oh,
I'll get it for you guys right now.
Do we have to share it?
Yeah, that's the other thing. They're going to have vendors around the country. You mentioned the jewelry as well.
Yeah, they have Mignon Gavigan in from South Carolina. She's one of the more exciting jewelry designers that's now in Bloomingdale's. I think the partnerships that Breeders' Cup has brought in, really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't get a hat before you came here and that's something you want to have, you can find that as well at the racetrack. The atmosphere, as great as it looks right now, it's going to be even better, obviously, on those 2 days, Friday and Saturday. It's going to be hard to choose. We're going to have to win some races early so we can get all the gear that we want, but they're ready and waiting for you. If you bought tickets to the Breeders' Cup, you're in for a real treat this Friday and Saturday at Del Mar. That's a look back from the grandstand past the train tracks, and then over there on the left, just past that bluff, is obviously the Pacific Ocean, but an area we call Dog Beach. And when you come into town, so much to see and do around Del Mar, and we hope you'll take it all in and realize just how magical this area is and this racetrack where the turf truly meets the surf. And now the best horses in the world have gathered for a third time hosting the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar. We'll be back with more Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup right after this.
Elegance is an attitude.
Researchers have identified 34,000 unique human feelings. But which feeling feels best? That would have to be winning. A chance of winning's what you get every day on FanDuel Casino's reward machine with a $2,000 top prize. Yes, winning is number one. It ranks higher than number 30, saying, I told you so.
Told you so.
Number 89, the feeling of catching your car keys with one hand. And number 78, thinking it's Friday when it's really Saturday. Those are pretty good, but not as good as new players getting up to $1,000 back in casino bonus and 350 bonus spins for the number one feeling, winning, which beats number 58, not jogging, and even beats number 18, the feeling of saving a kid from a well, 59 years later. The feeling of winning can't be beat. Feel it for yourself on the #1 rated casino app, FanDuel Casino.
Hi, I'm Greg. I live in Bloomington, Illinois. I'm not an actor. I'm just a regular person. Some people say, why should I take Prevagen? I don't have a problem with my memory. Memory loss is not something that occurs overnight. I started noticing subtle lapses in memory. I want people to know that Prevagen has worked for me. It's helped my memory. It's helped my cognitive qualities. Give it a try. I want it to help you just like it has helped me.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription.
On 6 weeks, 1-8.
Welcome back to the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club on a gorgeous Tuesday morning. It's breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. I'm Todd Trupp, along with Christina Blacker and Michelle Yu. A horse that caught our attention earlier just on looks alone. Let's set aside the past performances for just a moment. Newgate looks fantastic. And Michelle, you had a chance actually to see Newgate up at Santa Anita before he came down here, but man, does he love it at Del Mar this morning.
Oh, he certainly did. He was feeling his oats, and wait till he gets over here in the jog, because right now he's kind of looking around a bit, but he tucks himself over and goes completely in frame and looks like an absolute star when he jogs this morning. His work earlier on this week I thought was exceptionally good. And Baffer horses we tend to think are going to work good, but he looked really good. He came back to the races with a solid effort in the California Crown, and if he improves off of that, that's going to be really good. But look at him right here.
We can stay with this for just a little longer before you go to the work. Oh, we'll come back to it. That's our fault producing from the set. But here's the work. You were there, Michelle.
Yeah, we were there, and he's on the outside working in company. And, you know, Baffer kind of moves around his horse if they work inside or outside. But look at, he's going fast. He doesn't look like he's going fast, though. He is going, it looks like he's just out for a gallop, right? And you can see the rider on his workmate kind of working after him. And Newgate is so in hand. I thought that was a phenomenal work considering how quick they went.
And look, he was touting himself coming into the California Crown,
yes, he was.
too. This is a horse that has changed, and he was always a good horse. He was the winner of the Grade 1 Sydney to Handicap back in March. Now, that wasn't the fullest field, but still, look at him back here on the track. I mean, he was a real standout. I know we're only talking about a horse that is jogging, but he frames himself up. I mean, he caught quite a few eyes this morning just with this jog alone. When you add to the fact that he ran a career best number in the California Crown, he was third by a head that day. He ran a -2 on Thorograph. The strong work pattern coming into that race, the big effort, barely defeated Subsanador, National Treasure, not going to be in the Breeders' Cup this year. He enters this classic, I think, training better than ever. I was putting together my notes for the Equibase Race Lens podcast later today, and all the numbers keep pushing me back to Newgate. He was not the horse I was going to pick coming into this race and into this week, and I'm not sure if I'm settled on him just yet, but the data is just right there. And then to see him looking like this, I'll feel like a real fool if he's not on the tickets. Just, it's pointing you in his direction.
And Newgate is returning to the Breeders' Cup. He did run in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but it was back in 2022 against Forte, and then he didn't have much of a 2023 campaign. And could he be peaking at the right time here in 2024, at least physically? He is showing all indications he is, and at a price as well. Newgate preparing for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. And let's take a look at Snow White, the horse, coming up out here on the track at Del Mar. And as we go trackside to see Snow White, and here is a look at the work for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
This is something I requested for them to bring back, Todd, so sorry for that. I didn't get to see this, and Christina, you and Simon were gushing about her.
Yeah, this is a beautiful piece of work, your first opportunity to see it here. Danny Gargan trains this filly. She's a daughter of Good Magic. Now, she is a maiden coming in to the juvenile fillies, but don't forget her sire, Good Magic. He broke his maiden in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile as well. She was second on debut, and she exits a very live maiden race that day. Quick Kick comes back in the race. Scottish Lassie actually beat her in the Frisette, the subsequent start. Scottish Lassie drawn outside in the juvenile fillies this year, and I was shocked at her morning line. She's 5-2. I thought I found something special in her when I was looking at the form. She reminds me a lot on paper of Jody's Pride from last year. Jody's Pride was 20-1 on the morning line. She ended up running second, but Scottish Lassie exploded in the Frisette, and this filly was behind her in that race, and she looks really well over the track here.
Now, this is the first that I'm getting to see it, but I mean, she's completely in hand there. You can see the rider has her hands back and just holding on tight, but she was so happy to quicken when asked to do so. And coming down the lane, how fast did she go?
I don't think we have it in this form.
What is it, like 47 and change or something? I mean, that could literally be, again, like Newgate, look like they're galloping, and then you're going to put up a blazing fast time. That is very impressive.
Opens up her stride nicely across the wire, and she's been very well behaved. Danny was walking her himself earlier this week. Pine Racing and Don Alberto in partnership with this filly.
And that time was 5 furlongs and 59 flat, so the time holds up as well as the visual part to this. And as Christina mentioned, Scottish Lassie just put it all together in the Grade 1 Frisette, but it was Snow White who was the favorite that day, so she definitely has some ceiling there. A lots to go as far as improving with Snow White, and a horse to pay attention to in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Let's talk about the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Chancer McPatrick has been the king of the East, but that has been around one turn. The question will be around the 2 turns. But what have you seen out here on the main track this morning, Michelle?
Well, looking at him when we were watching this horse earlier off screen, and he was jogging, going the wrong way. The minute he turned, I'm so glad his rider had a hold, because he was gone like a shot. I mean, instantly into this big galloping stride. He carries this cadence at least 2 laps, right? I mean, because we're going in and out of watching him, but he has to gallop 2 miles with this nice cadence. The rider, you know, holding him back. He wanted to do more, but this horse looks so fit. He looked so spry. He looks extremely athletic. I loved this gallop today. A+ for me.
We've talked a lot about East Avenue and how physically mature he is. No, he's not quite at that level, but this horse is very mature himself. He's also undefeated. He's 3 for 3 so far. And with that pedigree, he's a son of McKinsey, out of a Bernardini mare. He's never had the chance to go 2 turns. He's a longer individual. You can see that across his back. I think he gets better around 2 turns in the juvenile, and not to be counted out at all. And with the money that will come for East Avenue, with the money that will come for Jonathan's Way, I think gaming will get some attention. I think you still might have a pretty good price on Chancer McPatrick.
No secrets on this show. Chancer McPatrick feeling good out on the racetrack this morning, and most likely going to be your 3rd choice in the wagering for the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Juvenile, presented by Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, trained by Chad Brown, and as mentioned by Christina, by McKinsey. And that's the other part to the Breeders' Cup. See these young stallions get some real publicity with some of their early runners, and this is one of the best for McKinsey just off to his start.
Yeah, really great for McKenzie. He had a heck of a year. I think it was slightly overshadowed by Vekoma at some points. But when you're taking a look at these, especially this day, the Champagne Day and the Frisette and everything, we had those McKenzie horses. We had McKenzie Street out here in Southern California. So it was like coast to coast in every type of race. We've seen the McKenzies. They've even won on the grass already. So it just goes to show you that he's going to be, I think, a really good stallion in the next years to come.
Let's stay with the Chad Brown barn under the cover of darkness. This was Carl Spackler preparing for the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile presented by PDJF. This is a horse who has finally put it together. For the longest time, they didn't even attempt Grade 1 company, but Chad Brown realized it was time, and he's rewarded him with back-to-back Grade 1 wins.
Yeah, the 4-star Dave and the Turf Mile at Keeneland, where he went gate to wire, earned a 102 Beyer speed figure that day. He beat More Than Looks and Mountain Bear, who were both pre-entered in the race. I don't think Mountain Bear ended up making the trip, but Carl Spackler quickly getting better, makes his own trip. I don't think he needs the lead, but he seems to be happiest up there. There's plenty of other speed in this race, but I think he makes his own trip, puts himself in a good spot.
I like Carl Spackler. I mean, you can't see much of his gallop here, but his white nose and his white legs are what you're kind of looking at to gauge how he's going. Another very happy horse. And look, it's Breeders' Cup. We're expecting these horses to come in here in really peak condition. But, oh, look, there we can see him now.
Would you play a horse like this? You know, we talk about America versus Europe. Would you play Diego Velasquez before you'd play Carl Spackler, or could you play Carl Spackler before Diego Velasquez?
Oh, I would probably play Carl Spackler before Diego Velasquez.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I would. Only because I know he's going to get, I know he's just going to like the turf course here, I feel like. And looking at his action right there, I think he's really going to relish that. That being said, I think there's other horses I would play on top of both of them.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah.
Sorry, Carl Spackler.
And this is a race that, over the years, while we talk about there's some horses who can get on a run and win maybe back-to-back miles and become dominant in the wagering, this race is known to produce upsets as well. Conti being a good example of that. But there's many over the years, and this has the feel, to me anyway, of a wide-open edition of the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile presented by PDJF. But here's how they drew the post positions yesterday as well as the morning lines.
To give you the Order of Australia feel to it.
Right?
Where we
oh
saw,
my God, I still couldn't have that horse.
Price. I think I went all in the mile that year.
Did you?
Yes. I missed it somewhere else along the way. Producer Ruben remembers. He's backing me up. I think if I was going with an American horse in this race, it's Johannes for me. You know, not to take anything away from Carl Spackler. Geoglyph is a horse that Simon's been talking a lot about. Don't forget about him from Japan. Porta Fortuna, though, she's a real standout in this field for me.
Well, and, something that Michelle alluded to probably is, but there is kind of a home course advantage with this type of turf course. So, like you said, Johannes already having been down here and already asserted himself certainly makes good sense. And just this horse has been in such good form for so long and deserves this moment as one of the logical horses for the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile. And this was Johannes under the cover of darkness, literally not long ago.
Brilliant son of Nyquist, a Breeders' Cup winner. A son of Uncle Mo, a Breeders' Cup winner. It runs in the family. We'll see if Johannes can keep that tradition alive for Tim Yakteen. He's 7-4-11 lifetime anniversary. He rides this turf course so well.
And basically, if you take away his dirt races, right, which is where they started him, and you only look at his grass races, his only mar is that American turf where they shipped him back to Churchill Downs, and he just did not really like the turf course that day, Tim told me. So you take that out of the equation, and his races are all excellent. He has just gotten better and better. We've seen steady progression from him. I really liked his City of Hope. I was less in love with, as Eddie Reed, I was less in love with the City of Hope, but I think we have to remember that horses have to have those peaks and valleys, so he can't just go up, up, up. You know, he has to have that kind of race that he's not peaking, so he can come back with a really solid effort. And I kind of like the way Tim spaced him out coming into this.
I wish I could start every day with you guys. This is the perfect start to my day. These 3 hours have flown by. The good news is we've got another breakfast at the Breeders' Cup show tomorrow, but we got to see a lot here today. We got to see the Japanese runners the most. Forever Young definitely stood out for me. They got what they wanted in that work that we watched this morning.
Yeah, that acceleration from him inside horses was really impressive. Our first look at City of Troy and galloping over the dirt. That was a marquee event of the day today, and we'll get to see more of him hopefully tomorrow. A little bit more galloping.
So, Michelle, are you not with us on the desk tomorrow? Are you going to be on the backside? You're on the desk.
I'm back on the desk tomorrow.
Okay, good.
I'm leaving you tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I'm going home for a day.
All right.
See the family.
Okay, we're going to have a great crew here for you. Enjoy that day off because it is coming quickly. 2 championship days of racing, Friday and Saturday here at Del Mar, and many champions out on parade here on the main track with Aiden O'Brien. We hope you enjoyed the sights and sounds of the preparations leading up to the 2024 Breeders' Cup World Thoroughbred Championships here at Del Mar. For our entire crew, especially the 2 people here joining me on our desk just off the paddock, Michelle Yu and Christina Blacker, thank you for watching Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. I'm Todd Schrupp. Until next time, may all your photo finishes be winning ones.